Hello.
Hey, hey, man. Can you hear me?
I can.
Sick. I
What's
got
up,
this
dude?
figured out. No, wait, it's recording. Sick. How you fucking doing, man?
Hmm. I'm good, dude. Yeah, I just had a kind of band meeting thing with Stormkeep
Hmm.
as I do, and we're just fucking around with some ideas for the next album. It's gonna be a lot of vampire titties. I think is the
That's the aesthetic.
that's the vibe. I think that's the vibe. Yeah.
Is that more like Acrocock vampire titties or Cradle of Filth vampire titties?
More on the Cradle Filth, yeah, because we're
Yeah,
not,
I should
you
have.
know,
I should have known.
we don't have the brutality of Akercok. That's more,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. More of the anorexia nervosa, cradle of filth,
Hmm.
old man's child, Yeah.
Sick.
How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty fucking good, man.
Hell yeah.
Having fun. Fucking taking taking drugs and blasting.
Hell yeah, that's sick. I
And
know
doing this shit.
I told
This has been kind of cool.
I told Shane that I was doing this and
Mhm.
he was like I wonder if he'll have his shirt off and also be on acid. And I was like, yeah, I kind of hope so. I kind of hope
Oh
so.
man, um, I was taking a night off, but I can take the sweatshirt off. I got my shirt off underneath this. I
Hey,
just
man.
found this in the space, and it looked appropriate to fucking throw on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, props for the support, man. I mean, you're basically a member, you know.
uh, but yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with TJ tripping, but I found that I was too excitable and I fucking talked over him way too much. So I wanted to conduct some semi sober. I mean, I'm still smoking weed. Don't let's not
Good.
get crazy here, but
Yeah, oh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
no.
okay, yeah. Good. Yeah, man. So,
So what's the
yeah,
plan for the next like when are you guys doing that stormkeep in this?
yeah, well, that was kind of a big part of it too, was we were like, well, what's the next move? It's really, I mean, I think to us, it's like the live aspect of the band is cool, but we want to try to just get another record, get
Mm-hmm.
and I have a bunch of song ideas already, and Jamie and I have been throwing around riffs and stuff. Um,
Sick.
so it's just a matter of like kind of figuring out like what makes sense and what's the best stuff, and trying not to copy ourselves and like do the same album again. Want to push it into like a new, and actually even well, it's funny you say Akrikaki because there's like a little bit like there's definitely going to be more palm muting and more lower stuff,
Oh, word.
but maybe more in like the Balsagoth kind of way, where it's like
All
um
right, sick.
but it's going to be a little bit different and like not so much of that like the droning open like blast beat like melodic riffs like all the time. It'll still have some of that, I'm sure, but I think we were just kind of like, what do we want to do? So I think we're kind of shooting for maybe like in having the whole rest of the year kind of writing, while obviously we'll be busy with a bunch of other things, but
Hmm.
try to fit that in, and then yeah, hopefully record like this coming winter, I think is like what we were thinking.
Word.
So
Cool. That gives you some nice runway to like get shit going
exactly,
for
no,
sure.
exactly, like a lot of like open cushion, I mean, as you know, and you guys have that benefit of Colin being like just like a fucking wizard person, and also having
Yeah.
like having the space and time to just record whenever he wants,
Yeah,
so
we're losing it, man.
oh, he
It's
told me that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
We're trying to maximize potentiality before that happens. But yeah, no, I don't know exactly where he's going. I'm not sure if he knows where he's going yet.
Yeah. On that tour with Gorguts, he was talking about that, and he was like, Yeah, because I know. I mean, I know that it was something that was like in the ether for a while that he might have to move, but I guess that now it's actually
So,
happening. That sucks.
well, shit. Yeah, it was important to get the storekeep. Um, we have to consider a lesser rung for you because you're not the drummer in that band. So it's important to sort of knock that one out,
Yes.
get that out of the way, so we can talk about important shit.
Well, I did play drums on the demo and the EP, so you know. So
Excuse me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because that's really important in the scheme of things.
no, man, everyone knows the demo is better than anything
No, I mean Fenris told us all you gotta respect the demo. Very true.
Um, but you're right. Yes, I mean, as someone who it's all is drums. So we gotta speak with the language that you
Yeah.
know.
No, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You have to reduce yourself to my fucking level. That's what the goddamn shit is all about. But no, I wanted to like pick the brains of some of my favorite people and favorite drummers. And I
Cool.
figured, I kind of thought a little while I was sort of thinking. I think I told you this in one spaced out fucking night. But
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking about writing a book with like interviews with people about like how they deal with drumming, both like physically and mentally, and all
Oh
that shit.
yeah.
And then I realized that this is better. And like I don't need to find a publisher or fucking whatever. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if anybody sees it. It can just be exist. So I'm
Well,
kind of
and
trying to do that in this fashion. And
when you get to be super old and decrepit and can't play drums anymore, you could just you could just write down all of these and then just make the book then, you know.
that's absolutely true. I could just fucking double dip. Why the fuck not, right?
And then, society will have it collapsed by then, and the internet won't exist, so you'll have to record it somewhere.
That's true. And paper might be scarce. We'll have to like fucking make vellum or some shit. I don't
That's
know.
true.
We'll make it work.
No, but that's a
Um.
that's a really cool idea. I like that.
Well, cheers, man. So yeah, let's talk about that last that tour you were out with Mr. Marston a fair few months ago. Not that many months ago, right? When was that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. I want to say we got back right before Halloween, I think. Yeah.
Okay, word. Yeah. So
Um,
like most of October you were out, right? Or
yeah, yeah.
September into October.
Yep, yep, yep. It was like a month, end of September to kind of end of October. So solid, solid time to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of days off too, which can, as you know, kind of be good or bad depending on like where you're
Sure,
at.
sure. No, I mean they can sink a tour. Probably not a tour like that so much, but days off could be so detrimental to like uh the flow of income, I
Flow of
suppose.
income and sometimes also like the momentum energetically too can be weird.
Totally, totally. I always feel like I don't feel right like on the vacationy days off. I feel the show looming somewhere in my future, and it keeps me from being all the way fucking chilled out.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah, and I don't know if Colin told you, but on that tour, I kind of took on like a little bit of the tour manager duties just
mm,
for our vehicle and like our group. So even on the days off, I had like a bunch of shit to do. So I
gotcha. Oh
feel,
man,
yeah, but it was rewarding. I think, everyone had a good time, and we definitely, the two bands on the bottom, just got our shit done. So that was.
sick. So yeah, what is the experience like of being like in that sort of position on a kind of big ass fuck off tour like that? What what is the day in day out like? How do you prepare for your set?
Yeah, I mean, we were really in a good position because I prefer to open shows like that
Mm-hmm.
personally. If it's like, if you're first or second, it's definitely great to be first because then
Yeah.
you just get it done, get your
Yep.
energy out, and then
Yep.
then you can kind of do whatever you want, after that. So it's like, you don't have that waiting game as much, which is nice.
For real.
But yeah, like we were also very fortunate to be in the bandwagon with Gorguts. I mean, they're great
Mm.
guys, and then also it meant that we slept during the driving times, which was great.
Right, right, right,
Um,
right.
you know, for most of my touring life was not the case. Most of the time, even when we did the Cannibal tour in 2019, we were just in a van,
Hmm.
following them around. So
That's brutal.
which is so brutal because yeah, like the get
Yeah,
in times are so early.
yeah.
So you really don't sleep at all if you have to do that. So we were very fortunate to be able to do that with Gorguts and actually get some sleep, even if it's not a nightliner. You're still it's pretty bumpy and whatever, but it's way
Hmm.
better than sitting upright trying to sleep.
Dude, I kind
And
of can't imagine trying to chase a like uh 4 bus tour around in a fucking van. Like
dude, yeah, it's
it's
so
just
brutal.
it's rough.
So brutal. And we made the mistake that year too. We were like, well, we should fill all the off days and do more shows,
Hmm.
because like we had to make,
Hmm.
whatever. It's like that's what you have to do. But it did mean that we had no days to like recuperate and sleep and do whatever. It's like we were
Right.
just like drive, play, drive, play, drive, play, and but I think it's good as like a younger musician to really like do that a bunch to like get the stamina, of like
Hmm.
playing
Hmm.
shows all the time. It definitely helps with your chops, and just being
Hmm.
like, at the end of a tour like that, even if you haven't slept at all, your body is just like you're like you're doing it. But on
You
this,
kind of learn your limits in some ways in that respect. Like
yeah,
you learn that you can hopefully do it
hmm
on like 20 minutes of sleep
yeah,
and too much of a cocktail of things.
absolutely. Oh, I mean, on that tour in 2019, I got the flu, and
Oh,
this is
dude.
pre-COVID, so no one was like, "Oh, you gotta like, quarantine yourself." It was just like, "Oh, well, I guess I'm in the corner of the van." Like just like horrible, like probably the most sick I've been in my adult life. And I was like, definitely had a fever, but we were like, we got to go play with Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel. It's like, well, what are you gonna do? Not do it? So I was just like pounding Dayquil and fucking like just just trying to keep myself like from collapsing basically with caffeine and other shit. So yeah, you do get to that level where you're like, okay, maybe nowadays, especially with Blood Incantation, where it's just like for us to play a good show, I know if I get less than 6 hours of sleep,
Mm.
probably not going to play as good. That's just like
Hmm. Hmm.
generally true. Um, so yeah, so I mean, we were very fortunate to be able to do that and have the sleep, and I definitely felt a huge difference in my playing just
Awesome.
from that, just from getting enough sleep every night. It's great.
Awesome. Who would have
Um,
fucking thunk it?
yeah, and 2023 is like the first year I've ever had that. So it was kind of like a kind of like a wow, okay, that really is what it is. Sometimes it's just getting enough sleep and eating something that's not fucked up like gas station food.
Hmm.
You know, and I found myself like in my 20s, you can really power through that stuff a lot easier. But I think as I got into my 30s, it was like, okay, there's a little bit more risk like of a barrier, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. You start to feel the floors.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really start. You start to wake up, and your back is like, no, 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 buddy, buddy, buddy
Yeah.
boy.
Oh yeah. Sleeping on floors, it becomes it's like I will do it if I have to, but there are times where I'm like, are we now just like decreasing the value of the whole thing now if we're just, suffering and there's like a cost to benefit ratio, I guess there
Yeah,
or
for
something,
sure. Yeah, at some point, it's worth paying a cost for comfort on tour, like to
yeah,
be happy to play better, like you're saying. Like
yeah,
these things matter. Not to
yeah.
make
And
your
I
life
would
absolutely fucking miserable.
Yeah, I would rather be able to if I fuck up, I would rather it just be because I didn't practice enough or something, not because I I'm I fucked my back up or, I
Right,
drink or something. I would
right.
much rather it just be like, "Oh, I just forgot to play that riff. I can't have a reason,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's I think that's like where I got to too where I was like um it's on me. I need to take responsibility, and it's like I can't have like an out, so it's like
Hmm.
it's good to have your baseline just be like, okay, this is where you got to be, and then you obviously there's fluctuation on tour. Some nights are good
Sure,
nights, some nights you're
sure.
feeling it, some nights just something happens and you can't
Yeah.
even explain it. You're just like, okay, I don't know why the fuck my body did that, or whatever.
so,
But
so I
yeah,
guess I have a couple questions. One of them is like, what's your immediate process before you go on to get yourself ready to do so? You
yeah,
know, good food, decent sleep, but like, what do you do physically, if anything, or
yeah.
mentally, if anything, right before the set?
Yeah, so like I would say I really try to keep my eating within like no closer than like 2 hours before the set. So I always try to eat, with enough time. And I always try to eat whatever that is before the set. I try to have it be like pretty nutrition like
Hmm.
dense.
Hmm.
Uh, if available, sometimes you're just
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
fucking shovel this into my face, whatever. Um, but blood incantation is we're pretty good. I mean, as you know, we all eat vegan and stuff.
Mhm.
We're a bunch of hipster like losers, but but like it definitely helps to eat like stuff that's not as processed and fried and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, that's not as like heavy on the gut because I've always like I mean it's just from trial and error. I mean, I've eaten like a burger and fries like right before I played and like almost puked
it's
like during it. So,
it's not a good thing. Have you ever puked during?
yes, I've puked during a set. I want to say only during a set once.
Hmm.
I've puked after a set a couple times. I've usually been able to either swallow it, and I've definitely done that. But yeah, like I think there was some Wayfarer show where I ate just like a shitload of just fried like fucked up like milkshake the whole 9 yards, and then they were like, oh, we got to play in like 15 minutes, and I was like, oh
Yep, yep.
no.
There it is. That's
Yeah,
that's what happens.
yeah. So yeah, that's a huge one, is like just making sure that I've eaten, because also like not eating at all before is also it's a tricky one,
Yep, yep.
is like
Totally.
if there's not enough like you know fuel for the
Hmm.
fire. Uh,
I have kind of the same window that
mhm,
you do. Like I like to have something in my gut that's relatively light and relatively
mhm,
nutritious and not particularly close, but not too far out from what I play. That's the perfect combo.
mhm.
Yeah, because I've also had that. Man, I'll never forget one Prowl set where
Mm.
uh like we were still at the barbecue place where Colin didn't come with us because he don't eat the meat, and we got a text being like, "We're on in 5 minutes," while we're like still settling up the bill from this
Oh
massive
no.
barbecue feast. And yeah, I almost like did horrific things to my drum throat that night.
Oh
That,
yeah. Oh,
that
I
was
bet.
that was more the issue than it wasn't going to come this way so much.
That actually reminds me of a funny story too, that Blood Incantation was playing in it was like Ottawa or somewhere in Canada, I think. And we went to this pho place, and I remember distinctly being like, "Yeah, make it super spicy, blah blah." And
Right.
there was like a big red pepper that they had put in it, and I like spicy food, whatever. But I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna eat the whole thing right now," and I ate the whole thing, and then that was like the same exact thing. It was like, "Oh shit, we go on in like 5 minutes," and we were like walking, distance from the venue, but
Yeah.
like we gotta go. And I remember I was running to the venue because I knew I had to get my drums ready to on the stage. and or the maybe it was like the band was finishing in 5 minutes, whatever. So I'm running over there, and my stomach, like it was like the craziest like pain I started getting, just like just and like not even because it was like spicy, but it just hit something, and I was just like, fuck, I have to play drums now. What am I gonna do? And actually, we had this giant bag of crystallized ginger, and I swear to this day, I tell people like, you just do this because if you ever have any
Yeah,
stomach problems, I ate.
ginger's a real thing, man,
It's a
for
real
sure.
thing. I ate like I would guess like a pound of this crystallized ginger, and um, I ate so much. I just kept eating it. I was like, I don't know what else I can do, but it seemed to feel better. And then I ate all this stuff, and then I went up on stage, and actually I had a great set because I was like all fired up from that. But it made my stomach problem go away. So I guess yeah, there's like a be careful what you do there. But
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
but
Yeah, do you warm up?
yeah. So to answer your question there, I've kind of gone back and forth with this. But I think I've figured out that my best headspace, because for whatever reason, there's just something about having the sticks in my hands. I almost like don't even want to have them in my hands until I'm playing,
Hmm.
which I don't know,
Interesting.
because I think different people have different, whatever it is. But what I've found is that it's like the 45 minutes, definitely an hour, but or definitely within an hour, but I definitely cut it off like 45 minutes before I play. I like have to be getting ready, getting in the
Hmm.
mindset. And what I do is I just stretch like a bunch, and I just stretch, and
Awesome.
I kind of like do some like little cardio things. I'll do
Hmm.
some like jumping jacks and like just kind of just get the blood moving,
Yep. Yep.
and just kind of stretch, especially like like these tendons and
Sure.
stuff like that. And then
You do like this guy.
yeah, yeah, that, and I do my legs a lot.
Hmm.
And you know, sometimes I'll get a little bit with the hands, but usually I don't need to warm up my feet ever. I've never had an
Yeah.
issue with that. So once I get that kind of 45 minutes, it's almost like more mental for me than it is like a
Hmm.
physical thing. And then I always drink a an electrolyte drink of some sort before I play, because I
Gotcha.
watched this video of this baseball player who's like I think he's a Japanese guy, and he was talking about how monkeys don't cramp. And I don't know if you, but like I don't know, it was like a couple years ago. I saw the video, and he was like, monkeys
Maybe
don't
to each their
cramp
own.
because they eat bananas and they get potassium. And it's like, and I researched it, and it's like potassium and magnesium. It's like really good, and you don't cramp. And ever since I
Hmm.
started doing that, yeah, I don't cramp during a set, and so
Right on.
it really helps me with that. But yeah, that's pretty much, and then the band, like, whatever band it is, we usually have like kind of like a little moment where we get to,
Hmm.
get amped up, in some way. And
Hmm.
then we try to do that like right before we go out. So there's like a energy, but that's pretty much what I do. Yeah.
So what's the mental process, or is it that ritual is the mental process?
It's a both. I mean, I have my own thing. Like I
Hmm.
definitely kind of even I learn more about it, I think, every tour. It's like more
Hmm.
about like what do I need? Where do I need to be inside myself in order to have a good time? I think is
Yeah,
like the one.
dude.
And I think
Yes.
you were actually very important in this kind of thinking. For me, actually helped me a lot, because I was always so I would get really bent out of shape if I fucked up, and I would just
Yep. Yep.
like, oh my God, I'm, blah, 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 blah. But I remember, I think we were on tour together, and you were like, I don't know, man, it's just music, and obviously, we take it very seriously,
Hmm.
because it's like our life, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's a show, and the main important thing is to have a good time, and it's not,
Yeah.
you know, to show off or something. I
Yeah.
think I think that was
Yeah.
like a big one for me, of just realizing that this is a fun thing to do, to go
Hmm.
play music, right? And
Yeah.
so to me, it's more about, yeah, getting in that mindset of like, why am I here? What am I here for? And like what's important to me? And that's, just being there, feeling being in the moment. And actually this guy, and I'm actually spacing his name. I almost want to look it up actually.
Mm. Yeah, go for it. But no,
Um
I still feel you in terms of playing from fun. Like I play so much fucking better when I'm not fucking worried about shit, but I'm actually just worried about enjoying myself and having a good time. And playing
yeah.
is an expression of joy. Like it makes, not only are you having a good time, which is preferable to not having a fucking good time, but I also am better, just
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah, so there was this guy, his name is Alan, and he played in that death metal band Altars
Okay.
in Australia, and then he's actually the new drummer for Stargazer now.
Oh, word. No shit.
And we played with both of those bands in Australia last, what was it,
Oh, awesome.
I guess, yeah, it was 2022 now, which is crazy. Um, but I played like, I would say like 3 or 4 shows with him, I think, or something like
Hmm.
that. And after my set, every time he would just come up to me and he'd be like, "Hey, mate, like, did you get the flow state?" And I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
the first couple times, like, first time I was like, I'm not, I mean, I kind of know what you mean, but,
Mm.
and then like, kind of we talked about it and it reminded me of, have you ever read any like Alan Watts stuff? Uh,
No.
he's like kind of like this, like, very like Zen guy from like the
Hmm.
70s, whatever. But he is a similar thing where it's like, it's when you, and I think athletes talk about this too. It's like kind of just like
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
very like
Usually called the zone when
the
athletes
zone,
talk
yeah.
about it.
And it's like you're just kind of one with the instrument, you're one with the thing that you're doing, and your brain isn't even like telling you like, oh, you need to play this part next or this whatever. And so I think every musician who's conscious of themselves like gets there in some way,
Yeah.
and I think that's like the best part where you're just in it and you're not even thinking about it and you're
Yep.
there, you're like just taking it all in and just kind of existing as that conduit or whatever you want to call it.
Right on.
And
Yeah,
so
you're
that's, yeah,
no, please.
that's like the mental state that I think, I'm not very good at meditation, so that's always something that I'm like, I've always like, but I think drums and like getting in this like kind of mindset is like the closest that I think I have to that.
Yeah, dude, I feel that. Uh, yeah, entirely. And yeah, you're not necessarily not thinking, but you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking about all the right things. Like you're thinking about like the sick riff you're playing.
Yeah,
Not like don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't
right.
fuck up.
Yeah, it's and actually that's a good point. It's like you're thinking about the riff you're playing. You're not thinking about what's the next riff. You're not thinking,
Right, right,
you
right.
know, you're you're in that riff and you're like, yeah, this is
Yes.
I'm fucking
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
in that ride cymbal is like I'm hitting the bell right there. It's just the whole
Yep.
thing. And you don't get it every night. And that's the thing is like,
True. True.
when you do it enough, I guess, you get there more often, I guess. But then,
Yes.
you know, um, but there will always be times there's, I mean, so many factors at a live show that can
For
derail
sure.
you in some way
Yeah.
but I think that's like also what makes it so rewarding is that,
Hmm.
if you know that at any moment it could fucking fail, then that it's so much better when it doesn't, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, it's you remember those nights where you're super in it, like
Yeah.
forever, kind of. You know what I mean? Like those shows where you're like, I was something. That was a pretty fucking good one. But
Hmm.
like, I find that yeah, as you do it more, I can kind of whip myself
Mm.
into it to a certain extent, not entirely, but I can kind of force myself physically to sort of play like I'm in it, and it sort of starts to fold a little. I don't know if you feel that way at all.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like when people just say like if you fake a smile, it will make you happier or something.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely a fake it till you
Kind of
make
like
it
that.
kind of thing.
Um, Yeah, because it's like I think that's what, at the end of the day, like what practice is to me is it's just like do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, play it as if you were, you're in a practice
Yeah.
space, right? You don't have that energy to feed off like the
Yeah.
crowd and
Yeah.
the whole hoopla of a show, right? And so
Totally.
I treat every time I play a song as if it was gonna be that, like, and I don't
Hmm.
play it less with less purpose, I guess, is the point. And so to what you were saying, like it's like
Hmm.
even if you're like I'm having a fucking shit day today, okay,
Hmm.
well go play the drums about it, or
Yeah.
something. So
Totally. So, what do you do when that flow state is an elusive motherfucker? And like when you're in your head, how the hell do you get out of your head and get
mm.
to at least a good neutral place to function from?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm always trying to figure that out, but the things that work for me are getting outside of myself a little bit and paying attention to what the other musicians I'm playing with are doing and kind of
Right
like
up.
trying to play with them and off them and then same with the crowd too and like, it can be very annoying if you're if you're having a bad time and they're having a bad time and because then you're like, well, fuck, well, what am I doing? But then, I mean, there's sometimes when that can be almost a catalyst in and of itself, where you're like, well, fuck it, doesn't matter, like I'm just here
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
my thing. So it's just, I guess, that is kind of just a matter. It's kind of like everything, right? Like where it's like a matter of your perception of it. If
Hmm.
you decide that you're having a bad show, then you're gonna have a bad show.
Yeah,
But
totally.
if you kind of decide, you know what, I'm just doing it. I'm doing it. I'm
Totally.
here. I'm here to do. And like, you know, there would be. I remember. I mean, just for examples, on this last tour, there would be shows where I was like, I'm fucking killing it. I'm like, I'm on
Hmm.
it. This is great. And
Yep.
then and it was funny because Colin was doing the synth for our set, so he would always
Hmm.
be he heard us every single night.
Hmm.
I apologize profusely to him for that. That's not fair to anybody.
Oh, he
But
had a great time. You guys kind of reinvigorated his interest in touring in a way I'm deeply fucking thankful for. I'm gonna reap the benefits
oh,
of that tour.
that's very cool. That's really cool to hear. I could tell that he was stoked. And we were of a same mindset as him. I think having other veggie guys to eat with, and we're
Yep,
down
yep.
to go to the record store and be nerds and fucking play synths and whatever. So it was a very, very, very chill experience hanging out with him. And he lent this awesome, synth thing to the end of the set. So but the other part of this was that he would practice his bass parts basically right next to me, like every
Hmm.
night. He would be behind the amps, but I could see him. No one else can see him. I can see him. He's like basically watching me every night, which I usually don't get weird about that, but like Colin is such a good musician that it does kind of throw me off a little bit where I'm like, oh man, if I fuck up, he's gonna know. It's like that like just that like my magnifying glass that you don't really have at a
Oh,
show.
dude, I uh, I had a Krallish rehearsal where like Lily Gruber was sitting like right behind me, and I kind of ate shit. I was fucking like freaked out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you just imagine it's like it's like maybe this is a fucked up way to put it, but it's like you're jerking off and your dad is watching you, you know what I mean? That's fucked up,
Yeah, no, no, no. I kind of know what you mean. Yeah, no, that's you know, as fucked up as that analogy is, it's absolutely apt. It totally works to fit the occasion.
But it's like that's what it feels like because you're like, dude, like, I'm trying to do my thing, but
Yeah,
all I can think about is that you're watching me,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
all I can think about. But because he did it every show, right? It started to just become kind of just like a I would kind of look at him at certain points in the set, and I'd be like, ah, and like, and then he told me, and I loved this. This is just like this is
Yeah.
such a Colin-ism here, but he was practicing his bass parts to me playing, and I'm like, "What are you playing?" And he's like, "Well, I'm just kind of just thinking about what it might be that your band is playing, like that maybe what the riff could be, or or he's like, I'm just playing around. He's like, because yeah, you have all these like different time signature parts or whatever. It's like really fun to just fuck around with. I'm like, that is so crazy. That's like a genius
Yeah.
and a cool way to do it. But there
It's
was
so fucking him. Jesus
it's so
Christ.
it's so it's hilarious. But one of my this was just like a classic something that I would do to you, which I feel this is just really funny to me, is that he during sound check he started doing I would do my drum sound check, right, and then he
Mhm.
would start doing cymbal chokes while I'm playing on my set, right. So he's
he
doing that.
does. He does
And
it to practice, by the way.
yes, yes, I'm sure. I mean, I was like, this is hilarious. He wants to be a drummer so bad. I can tell. He just wants to play drums so bad that he's now plays drums in your band, right? So
I just realized I technically can interview him for this shit
that's true.
because he's a drummer. Yeah.
He is. He
All
is.
right. All right.
I
Here we
can.
go.
I can tell. I mean, I can tell. It's like him and Paul have this similar thing where they're like they like dabble. They can. They want so bad to play drums. And I can see it in their eyes. They just look at it and they just want to do it. But
Mhm.
so he's doing that, and then it was during. So then I start doing specific things to either fake him out or try to get it. And then I think it was what was it? He did it at a certain part of a song I was playing, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna see if you notice. I'm gonna add a bunch of cymbal chokes in, and I'm gonna see if you notice. And I fucked myself up in the song
Sick.
by trying to do that,
Do
which
you
was
recall?
so
Do you
funny.
recall fucking yourself up over or very similar circumstances, so many years ago, where I yanked your splash symbol and then you fucking were like abusing the splash when it was back in action and you totally ate shit for a part.
I do remember that. Yes, yeah, and that's the hubris. You're like, well, you're gonna fuck with me. I'm gonna, and then like, well, now I'm just fucking myself. There we go.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's such is life. Such is
But
life.
but like, if you can't fucking have a laugh with the lads, then what is the point, right?
Yeah, yeah. You don't got to be fucking German about it.
Exactly. Oh, sir, I saw you were doing these extra cymbal catches in the song. I don't really like that you change it. Yeah, but but yeah, back to what I was saying about him watching. It's like, you know, oh yeah, this was the other point I was gonna make was that after every set, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, good stuff, man," and I'd be like, "Yeah, that was a good one," or whatever. And then
Yeah,
the next night, I'd be like, that was I don't know about that," and he'd be
yeah,
like, "I couldn't tell," and I'm
yeah.
like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
But like,
He's pretty honest.
he's very honest. Yeah, he is very honest, and like that just goes back to I think something you and I have talked about all the time, where it's and I talk about this with other musicians too, where it's like we're our worst critic,
Yeah,
and that's why ultimately you know it's it's a good show because we are being shitting on ourselves a little bit. You got to do it a little bit,
yeah, yeah.
so that you
Totally.
have something to strive towards. Because if you're just like, yeah, I'm good enough, whatever, then that's just kind of like, okay, well, you might as well. What's the point?
Absolutely.
But there's a limit. You don't can't shit on
Yeah,
yourself too much. You gotta
yeah.
like
It gets.
let it
Have
roll
you
off.
experienced like what has your experience been like that in terms of your mental health and shitting on yourself over the years and your sort of relationship with being a musician and being a drummer? Um,
Yeah. Oh well, I mean it ebbs and flows just like I guess regular life,
yeah,
and as it is tied so deeply into our lives, then your worth as a person feels connected to that, I think. So
absolutely.
that can be tough sometimes. Great example. I was actually not this last Wayfarer practice we had yesterday, but 2 weeks ago, we had a practice, and it's probably the worst I've played for that band ever.
No
Uh,
shit.
and it wasn't even that I was playing the parts poorly. I just
Yeah.
kept forgetting riffs. I just like I don't know what was going on. I think
Yeah.
I've had a lot going on in my life, anyways,
Hmm.
and this time of year is always a little bit tough, anyways. It's just that
Hmm.
seasonal depression and the just the vibe is kind of oppressive when it's just cold and bleak and whatever.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And and I think just going into the day, it was just a weird day, and I was spent mentally or something, and I just shat the bed on almost every song we practiced,
Mm.
which was so unusual for me. I just like never happens, and it's like, yeah, oh, babe, I swear this never happens, but like,
Yeah.
um,
For the record, I've seen him. I've seen him at practice. I've been a fly on the wall, and he fucks up all the time. No, 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 it was just flawless. So, he's right. It's not the usual fucking diner diner fucking menu entry.
yeah, I mean, it was so weird that it was like it kept happening. It almost
Mhm.
it was like self-fulfilling. And then it's like then
Yeah, for
you're
real.
kind of snowballing because it's happened now 3 songs in a row, and so you're like, "Oh, it can't happen again. If it happens again, then that's the worst thing that could happen." And
You're
then
thinking about embarrassing yourself.
you're thinking about not fucking up, which then absolutely is
Yeah,
going to fuck
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a guarantee.
up. And that day, I mean, dude, we finished up practice. I got home. I was depressed.
Mm,
I was like really down on myself about it. And I talked to Katie, my partner, and I
hmm.
was just like, yeah, I don't want to, it just feels really bad to do the thing that you not only you love doing it, and it's something that matters a lot to you, and it's like now it's basically like my whole life is built around
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
So when it's a bad day, then you're
yeah.
like, what am I doing? And it calls into question all these things. And am I not practicing enough? Am I not listening to it enough? Like, what did I do wrong? Or what was, the first song that you fuck up, you're like, oh, I couldn't hear something right. Or,
Right, right, right,
and then it's like, okay, it's something else. But then,
right.
the funny part was, well, so I actually got super sick right after that. And I don't
Mm.
know if maybe there was a correlation. Maybe I was
A
depressed
little
about it.
brain fog.
Who knows? But I was out of commission for all of last week, so I couldn't practice with any of my bands, which was also very annoying.
Hmm.
Um, and then I couldn't do some photos, like some stuff we were doing with blood incantation, and I had to miss all this stuff. So that was like a bummer, and I was just stuck at home,
Oh man.
and it really did not help, where I was at. But then coming out of the sickness, and then I had Wayfarer practice yesterday, and it was funny because I fucking killed it, except the
Hmm.
first song I almost did the same thing I did the last time. And I like skipped a riff and I was like, wait a second, no. And I like went back and then I got all the other songs right. And I was like, okay, it's fine.
Sick.
It's fine. But it can be tough sometimes where I mean you tie so much of that of your success and your skill
Yeah.
with your self-worth, which can be tough sometimes. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. And it sounds like maybe you're a little bit like me, where when you have a shitty one, you don't give yourself the grace that that was just like a shitty day, and that's not you who you are now. You
Yeah.
know, for me, if I have a day where things are not flowing, I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
am I just bad? Is this it forever? Am I stuck like this? And
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm like yesterday, I had a really fun but also good day of playing it. Today was a little more taxed out and a
Mm.
little less like on the fucking nose, and like I was happier yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how that, and I think that's like the goal, is to try to be a little more objective with yourself. Be kind to yourself. That's always a good thing to strive for because you're only human, and also not trying to shit on anybody else, but drummers have the hardest job. of the whole band. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's not to demean any other instrument, and I play other instruments, so I feel like I
Yep.
am perfectly able to say this. But drums are absolutely the hardest instrument, and it's the most obvious when you fuck up.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
it's like the most immediately obvious because
Yep.
it's loud. It's the beat. You know, you're keeping it. And I remember it was the keyboardist for my old band, Money, said this to me once. He was
Mhm.
like, "You're the CPU of the band. You are you're running the program, dude. Like, you know, you
That's
got."
really good. I like that.
And it's a tough position to be. So if and that's why it's like if you fuck up, you know, everyone knows, you know, but
Yep.
the you know,
Yep.
not you know, and it's so it can be tough and it can be a little bit more of a magnifying glass on yourself,
Mm.
uh, which I think you know for people like us who strive to be, you know, we really are pushing, we try to push ourselves and reach a point that we always are, you know, maybe never even happy with the end result, but always almost getting there. And
For sure.
that's what's good about it. And that's what makes what we're doing and what I think a lot of my favorite musicians, what they do is so interesting and fun to listen to and experience is because they are trying to do that and they are pushing themselves. But that can always come with like a, you know, like sometimes there's like one, two steps forward, one step back, you know, like, I mean, a great example. And I know, I think we talked about this when, you know, we had our kind of heart to heart
Oh
that
yeah.
we're all like, fucked up on drugs, you know, and,
Yep.
we
Yep.
can talk about stuff, but,
Yeah. I
we
think it was probably maybe not the first time, but it's probably the most I've expressed my admiration for you both as a dude and as a player.
no,
But
and I felt the same
like
way. Yeah.
like many drug fueled encounters, it's not coming from fucking
Yeah.
there's it Vito Veritas sort of shit. You know what I mean? Like it ain't bullshit. We talked about that too.
Absolutely. Well,
But anyway, sorry.
no, I mean, and to that point too, I mean, I feel like as men in modern society, it's harder to talk about that
Mm,
stuff and mental health
for
and how
sure.
it affects us. And a lot of times it feels like there isn't a place to talk about it as much. So it's very good to bring it up. But yeah, like we were talking
Fuck
about
yeah,
it,
man.
and when COVID happened, I didn't play drums for months because I was focused
Yep.
on the Time Wave Zero keyboards, and I was playing guitar, doing stormkeep, and blah blah blah. So when I came back to doing Blood Incantation, I was so out of shape, and I was like playing shows of songs that I've been playing for so long that I was struggling to play.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Like it was like 2021, you know, when it was first coming back and stuff. And it really took me like a year, honestly, like a year to like a year and a half for me to get back to where I was like happy with how I was playing. And
Dude,
that was tough.
dude. Yeah. I feel like I'm just getting back to and starting to finally climb past a certain
Hmm.
place like now.
Yeah.
And code from essentially COVID totally derailing the ship in similar ways, and then fucking myself up when I
Mm.
tried to like get back in the saddle.
Hmm.
Um, so I totally feel that. But yeah, I mean, even without hindrance, just when you take a little bit of time off, you fucking feel it. To your point that this is the hardest thing, like there is a physical requirements that are easy to forget about until like you don't do it for a second and you're like actually sore from fucking doing it or whatever. You're like, oh yeah, this is work.
Yeah.
This is not nothing. I'm just used to
Absolutely.
it.
No, absolutely. It is an athletic thing. Playing drums is absolutely, especially extreme metal drums, is an
Yeah,
athletic thing.
yeah,
And
and especially the way you play extreme metal drums, which is one of the reasons I love your playing so much. Is like
oh yeah.
you're you're not whispering.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you know, I started playing with triggers, what was it, like 2022, I think. Um, but really like, you know, it hasn't really changed my playing that much. Like I really
Yeah,
I'm glad I did it now instead of
right.
starting that way because I still play. I mean, dudes will who are like, you know, super tech, Patrice or somebody,
Yeah,
and like
yeah, yeah.
they have their kick drum just like as tight as possible, and like
And I know you do basically the exact opposite of that too.
yeah, yeah, and I've actually tightened it up a little bit more probably
Word.
since last time you played my set. Um, but it's still not anywhere close to like where a lot of the guys are. And I think it's just because of I just learned how to play a certain way. And I
Hmm.
liked playing a way that I liked the way it sounded when I was playing, as
Yeah,
opposed to like, oh, how do I make this sound good on a recording? I'm like, I need it to sound good right now, for
yeah,
me. Because I think for me, it was like, just being in the basement playing drums. I wanted to hear what my kick drum sounded like fast, so I had to just do it, right? So
yeah, dude.
I think I mean, and I feel like, anytime I see like a light hitter, I mean, there's some phenomenal players who don't hit hard,
Yeah,
and it's that,
yeah.
that's
Agreed.
a certain style of its own, but
Yeah,
like,
everybody's got their pluses and minuses and pick their poisons,
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, there's guys who will play circles around me, but like, I've always like, I don't even really do double strokes much because it just
Hmm.
isn't loud enough to me. Like that's kind of why I don't think it really ever gel. And I'm sure I could learn how to do it in the right way, I guess. But
I got a method for you if you're interested.
yeah, I would love that. I would love that
All
because
right, sick.
because like I feel like every time I've been trying to do it, it just doesn't feel right to me. But I don't know. I mean, I'm also just like that's like my caveman brain. I'm just like hit,
No, I mean for the most part, that's just the way it is. Double strokes are not single strokes. There's a reason single strokes are single strokes because they have all the attack. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, all my fills have always been just like, I've always been trying to hit hard and just, and also I think to me too, and,
But you kick hard too.
yeah, yeah. To me, it's always been like, and actually I realized it became kind of tying it back. I realized this when I came back from COVID because
Mhm.
I was not hitting the way I used to because I just didn't have the muscle and I didn't have the
Yeah.
the energy, and like that was a big part. It was like the energy sink that I had at that time was
Hmm.
like really weird. I don't know. Like I just didn't have the stamina that I used to, is like the cardio or whatever. And so it took me a while to get that back. But now I feel like I'm better than I was because I had this like period of time after COVID where I couldn't hit super hard. So I was a little more controlled, and I kind of tried to not flail around so much because that was like my style before, was I was just like animal or whatever, just fucking going at it.
Uh-huh.
And so also getting older, whatever, I kind of honed in a little bit and got a little more control. But then I would say probably last year, uh, end of 2022 into last year, I found a happy medium of that, of like giving myself into it more, which I think makes me have more fun. And I think that was like part of it too, is just like hitting hard and moving like my body
Mm.
is what I like about playing drums. And it's not,
Something
yeah.
something I absolutely realized, dude, and I constantly have to remind myself of this as I'm going, is like when I get myself into trouble in
Mm,
terms of fatigue and stuff is when I'm not just wailing. When I'm
mm,
wailing, I'm moving exactly the way I want to, and I'm breaking up that motion and
mm.
monotony. And I also warm myself the fuck up. And it's when I'm like trying
Yes.
to be in control and like trying to be precious where I fuck up and things
Mm.
start to lock up and all the bad shit starts to happen. So I
Yeah.
kind of feel what you're saying a lot.
Okay, so this brings up a thing that I feel like I've never vocalized
Hmm.
with another drummer before, but I bet you can probably like talk about it in a way. So there's this thing that happens. It kind of goes back to that flow state thing that we were talking about, but it's a physical
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And when you get into that cycle, and it's especially with like a blast beat, for example,
yeah, yeah.
when it's like it's almost like a cycle. It's like I kind of think of it as this like big circle, and your body is just in this perpetual motion. So it's almost
Hmm.
like it's like, I don't know, like it's like some sort of fucking drum kung fu or some shit. But like, it's like you're,
Okay, let me interrupt you for 1 second because I love
yeah,
that
yeah,
you
yeah.
just said that. So I had an interview earlier today with this dude I've known forever who's a fucking insane madman drummer. This dude Alex Cohen. But he was talking about a quote from that dude Yoni Madar.
Hmm.
It's like insane. I love you see this shit. But he was saying like drums should be like a dance or like a martial art in terms of the way
Yeah.
you move on the instrument. So exactly to your point.
Cool. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess I haven't really like verbalized it before, so it's
Mm-hmm.
cool to hear that back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, and I
I
think,
think about that a lot for sure.
yeah, yeah, and it's like you get into this like little loop thing where it's almost like the resistance is not there anymore.
Yes.
It's like and actually I was feeling this yesterday when I was playing.
Mm,
On the hi hat, I was just feeling this. It's like my motion of hitting this hi hat is not causing me any strain. Like I'm not, it's not like an impact. Like if you hit like a piece of wood or something, it's like you're completely the hit and the off are like
exactly.
yeah.
Totally. No,
And that's
you're feeding yourself sort of in a way
yeah.
that like you're never putting any strain on anything.
It's like it would be like maybe it's like the physical muscle version of breathing for like saxophone players or something, or like where it's
I see
like,
what you're saying.
you know what I
In
mean?
terms of that circularity you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it feels like a correlation there of like
Hmm.
this perpetual motion of stuff. So it's like you're not losing anything,
Yeah,
when you're performing, and so it makes it so that your stamina is higher and you're not taking any hits. You're not.
totally.
Uh,
Totally.
yeah. Yeah, it's something that I'm like really like talked about before, but I think that's like really where you want to get, like where it's like you're not expending the energy that you're not getting or something. I don't know. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean for sure. Like
Yeah.
you're kind of an ecosystem or something. Like you're just
Hmm.
flowing through yourself.
Yeah.
And everything is helping everything else function and stay
Hmm.
in balance. That's such a huge part of this is balance.
Yeah.
When I'm wailing, even if I'm like kind of out of balance in a certain way, I'm really in balance with myself.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm trying to like control things, I tend to sort of lose that core
Mm.
control in a certain way.
Yeah, totally, totally, totally. It's yeah, I think the balance is a key one, and like that just made me think of too. Part of what's so great, especially with like blast beats, with that
Mm-hmm.
is the continuous like hitting two things at the same time with another thing, and even too with like double bass and extreme metal drumming has a lot of this where you're like one thing is together and like your arms and your feet are moving in a fluid way, like either off
Totally,
or with each other,
totally,
and that can really like with your core, that's like a huge thing is like having that balance of your core and being able to have each of those ecosystems work in tandem is like that's like one of the most important things. I would
absolutely. And for
yeah.
me, my ecosystems work far better when they're working together. Like
Yes,
um,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's such a huge part to me. I feel like when you walk in, and like musicians talk about that all the time, but it's like, of course, the pocket, but in extreme metal,
mhm.
it's like very
Yeah,
specific.
yeah, yeah, totally. It's not a pocket in the same way, but it is a pocket in terms of you feeling like in
Hmm.
that supreme driver's seat control where you're just cruising.
Totally.
You're hauling.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly, exactly. And the motor's running, and it doesn't need you to push it too much. That's
Yep,
that's
yep.
it's the best spot. And and just to go back on what you were asking about too is like when you're on tour for long enough, that gets so much easier to get to every time,
Mm,
you know.
mm,
It's like by the end of a tour, I feel like that's always when I'm just like you're just writing it, and it's
right
uh, it takes less time to warm up and it takes, uh less time to get to that, I think.
on. Very cool. Yeah, yeah. No, I totally buy into that sort of thinking about, because that's what technique really is, right? If
Mhm.
you go back to first principles of technique, it's like how to move in a way that keeps you flowing and comfortable and not taxing yourself. So thinking about movement in a like holistic way
Yeah.
as like the whole system is extremely helpful, I think, to like functioning. Um, and
I
yeah,
think that.
I totally get what you're talking about. It's like being in that state, you don't want to leave it. Like I don't even like
Hmm.
if I'm having like a real good, nice run, a double kick. I don't want to. I don't want the part to have like a broken pattern, a double kick. You know, I
Mm.
just want that run to keep fucking going. It's like I don't want to have to like stop and start again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's an interesting position that I've been in for for some of that new Incantation stuff is that
Mm-hmm.
I wrote some of the guitar riffs. And so as the guitarist, I was like, this should have this drum part. And then I would start playing and I'm like, this fucking sucks to play. Like this that's always a funny thing. Or if you're the whoever you're playing with, they're like, "What if you do like this type of thing here?" And you're like, "I just don't know about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right to me. Maybe it sounds cool." You know, well, that's always a tough
Yeah, it won't be fun, man.
one.
I could do it, but I won't fucking enjoy
Yeah, dude. Oh man. Yeah. You're telling me to put a splash here, man? I don't fucking.
it. But no, I mean, as you know, I think like
Mhm.
working with great musicians, great guitar players, great bassists
Mhm.
and great songwriters. Period is such a good way of like pushing your shit forward. You know, like
Absolutely.
it can be hard to kick your own ass sometimes.
You can.
And
You
the best
can.
thing you can do for yourself as a player, especially as a drummer, is to get your ass kicked and to
Absolutely.
like put yourself in that position.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I would say the best thing that a musician can do is just play with lots of different people and just
Yeah, man.
have different people have different styles, and that just helps so much, I think, to broaden yourself because
Mm-hmm.
I've like had to learn how to play certain styles just because,
Yeah,
yeah, just because someone was like, this is what I want to do. And I'm like, I care enough about also, that's the other thing is like caring enough about your own growth and not just resting on your laurels and be like, well, I'm going to do that beat that, no, I'm
absolutely.
not going to, I'm going to Lars Ulrich this shit and I'm going to play that same beat that I played on every single thing. I'm going to do that,
Mm-hmm.
which can be fine. And some people can
Yeah.
have lucrative careers doing that. But, but to me, I'm probably, well, I was diagnosed with ADD as a kid, which who wasn't, right, in the 90s.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I do think that there's something to that. But it does, in some way, uh, keep me from just doing the same thing every time because I just get
Mm-hmm.
bored so easily. So, um, but I would say, yeah, I mean the best thing, and actually Shane and I were just talking about this at the stormkeep
Mm-hmm.
meeting. It's just how each of our bands, and I'm sure you can probably relate to this, is that each of our bands we learn something new from doing this one thing, and then we do the next album from the other band, and it's like, okay, I have a new appreciation or a new skill or a new technique or a new idea that I learned,
Absolutely.
and then it's kind of this cool little like roundabout thing. That I think it's just really helpful to everybody.
Yeah, totally. It's almost like it's staying on the wavelengths of like ecosystems. It's almost like that in its own stuff. Like the bands, they're not in competition in any sort of stupid way. They're feeding each other.
Oh.
And especially in a circumstance like you have, where it's the best kind of incest, where it's just like basically a family of dudes who are swapping roles in various ways between bands,
Mm.
but essentially making music together. But but it's a really interesting assortment of projects for you as a drummer, especially I feel like in terms of blood incantation to
Mm.
Wayfarer to Lykatanon or
Mm.
three very different approaches
Yeah.
to music like to our parents or not to your parents, but to most parents would all be the same music.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
it's like you're doing radically different things with the drums between the three.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy to uh I guess a lot of people might not guess it, but the hardest band to be in is Lykatanon 100%. That's like the
Those
hardest.
gravity blasts are kicking your ass.
Well, the gravity blast is hard, but it's actually that I have to play with a second drummer basically because
Mm.
there's the electronic element from Zach. He's doing all these beats that I'm playing along to at the same time.
Uh,
And so if I fuck up, it's like it's so bad. It's just ruined. Whereas like if I'm playing a little a little loose with the other bands, like it's
yeah,
like fine, it doesn't really
yeah,
you wouldn't necessarily notice, but yeah, it's like I'm basically have like another drummer in the band, but it's always perfect. The
yeah.
other drummer is
Yeah,
always
right.
so
Relentlessly perfect.
it's a very different thing, which I definitely grew a lot from doing that. I mean, I definitely
Sick.
had to kind of clean up my. I feel like I have like a, I don't know, maybe like what I would call it, but a groove, I guess I would
Hmm.
call it or something. But
Absolutely.
that maybe is like a distinct thing. I don't have like the crazy chops of other guys, but maybe that's what I'm strongest at, I guess. If I could pinpoint something, maybe. But that band doesn't really allow for that because I have to. And I realized that because I was like kind of swinging a beat. I think there was like some part of the album where I was trying this swinging the beat vibe thing, and I just was playing it. And I'm like, this sounds like shit because it's just other thing is not doing that. So it just automatically, I just was like, well, I have to play in the box, which is harder
Yep.
for me, um, generally speaking, because I think I'm a maybe not improvisational, but I feel like I am a very like in the vibe kind of drummer. So,
Mm.
but it did force me to kind of like, all right, if I need to be there and I need to be in this little box to the click, that whole thing. I think it helped
So I was
me.
gonna ask you, like Lykatanon is click.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, it wouldn't even work. I mean, I have to have them in the ears and everything when
Right.
we play live. And yeah, and so I think that did help me to have like because I mean I've always practiced to a metronome even as like when I was younger. And that was
Sure.
my first drum teacher, Christian Teal. He's phenomenal like jazz guy, and
Hmm.
his first, I mean, it was cool we were talking about technique because like his first couple things that he recommended, I mean, that he was telling me, he was basically like, you got to do this. He's like, you have to practice with a metronome and you have to do this, whatever. Here's the rudiments, all that stuff.
Hmm.
But the other thing was, he was like, he would watch me play because I was self taught for a few years. And
Okay.
then I had lessons, and he would like immediately, he was like, you are not moving your wrist at all. He was like,
Mm.
you are basically like taking your forearm and just going like, like that. Like you're expending just all of your energy is just going like and also you're not getting the kind of slap back the
Yep.
what we were talking about
Yep.
and
No whip.
exactly, yeah, exactly. And so that was like very early on. It was like okay, and those were like driven in. So the click track practicing has always been a thing, and when I got and just I mean I don't know. Tell me if I'm just going on too long about this, but
That's the goddamn point, dude.
that's the goddamn one. Okay, so this is just opening up a whole thing. So
Mm.
in my life as a drummer, I was doing that a lot. I was practicing to the click, and then in the first couple Wayfarer records were to a click, and so I was just really getting in the habit of playing to clicks like a lot. And then Starspawn, the first Blood Incantation record, was not to a click.
Mm.
And I feel like that was a really good, I mean, that was like probably a, if you can look at your life in that way, that would probably be the peak of my drumming at that time,
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
was kind of a culmination of what I had done up to that time. Right.
Hmm.
And was not to a click, totally analog to tape, like the whole thing. We played live, and I was very happy with that album. I was
Yep.
like,
Yep.
wow, like this like turned out really good. And then fast forward a little bit, and we were like, well, we're going to do the same thing for the next record, right? We're going to do all to tape. And actually, in the meantime, Wayfarer did. our record with Colin, World's Blood, which you also play on
Oh, right.
with the gang Breen. Um, and we did not use clicks for that album. So this was kind of, we're kind of getting
Mhm,
into that.
mhm,
And then we get to Hidden History and we didn't do click tracks. We didn't do anything where it's like live to tape and we're going to do live
mhm.
guitar, live drums, live everything, right? And this was like, this was the first, and this is like, there's no right answer, right, in this
Sure.
situation. But the first night that I finished setting up the drums, right? We're getting good takes, we're getting good sounds, whatever.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's run through the first track, Slave Species of the Gods, which is, I would say, even harder to play than any other song on that record. It's harder than even the 20
Right.
minute song. It's definitely the most challenging. It's still to this day is probably the most challenging Blood Incantation song for me to play. And we're like,
What makes
okay,
it so before you go
yeah,
on?
yeah.
What?
Um, it has the most tempo changes. It has the most
Mm,
like fluid, like one beat to do another beat.
mm.
It's not like, okay, here's a blast that's like the fastest blast you have to play for X amount of
Yeah.
time. It's not a
Yeah.
stamina thing. It's like
Yeah.
there's so many riffs and such fast succession that are all kind of a different feel. So it's like you
Mm,
can't even, it's hard to keep up with whichever feel you're trying to do, right?
mm.
So, and it's very fast. And at the time, I was trying to, in my 20s, I think I was about to turn 30, I think, and
Mhm,
I was still in that kind of trying to prove something stage
mhm,
of my
mhm.
life where I was playing every song faster than we were practicing it too. So
Gotcha.
that I was playing it probably too fast, which was an
Mhm,
aspect of this whole thing. But first night we get good sounds and I play through the song and I was actually pretty happy with it. I was like, oh,
mhm,
that was pretty good.
mhm.
And then our producer is like, oh, I didn't bias the tape correctly.
Ha!
You're gonna have to do it again. And
Oh man.
and not only that, but we're done for the night, so you're gonna have to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
Oh
it
man.
totally killed the steam for me, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next day, I could not get a fucking good take of this song to save my life. And
That's
I
so
had to,
frustrating, dude. Oh. Oh, I
yeah,
feel for you.
yeah. And I was like, I got it. I fucking got it. Like yesterday.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
fuck,
God
right?
damn it.
And
Oh,
um
that's
so
uh,
what ended up on the album is not exactly what I wanted. And there's multiple parts of that song that I'm just like I cringe listening to them because I'm just like that is not how I was supposed to play it, and that's not how I did. That's not how I played it.
yeah.
Um, and then during this same recording session, I got like I mean I would guess I'm just guessing 20 takes of every song
Oh
probably
man.
something
Gotcha.
just
Jeez.
absurd because we were doing it to tape and I would get like halfway through
Yeah.
I would fuck one thing up and I knew because it's tape. I'm like, I
Yeah.
know I can't punch that in. I know I can't
Yeah.
punch that
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So I would
Yeah.
stop maybe 4 minutes into a 5 minute song, or something like that and just start again. So that happened for all the songs. And then we had like it was like 18-minute song where we were able to split it in half kind of. So I was able to do kind of six and that song I'm very happy with. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
and that's also the song I wrote for the album. So like I had a easier time, I think, just doing
Right
that.
on.
But the first half of that record, we didn't do a click, and I was had all these things,
Yeah.
and I was doing so many takes of these songs. I had like a day where I started getting these like crazy, just like pains in my legs from playing
Oh,
drums
dude.
like so much,
Sure. Sure.
and I started like feeling sick, and I started feeling like hot flashes and pain, like body pain, like aches and
Oh
stuff.
man.
And I had to go like lay down on the couch upstairs or whatever and just like let
Hmm.
myself like chill out or whatever. And then came back to it, But that album is still very hard for me to listen to because I'm just like, it's just
Hmm.
not quite what I was hoping for. So to circle this all back, um, for the new album, for the new Blood Incantation album that is coming out this year,
Hmm.
that we did do all click tracks, but I
Right.
played live with the guys in the room
Right.
with the clicks, and I could turn them up and down if I wanted,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, and the best part of that was also we practiced the shit out of it, which we always did,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
But this time we really did. We like practiced. I mean, I was just practicing more than I have for a record. I don't know. I maybe ever.
Mm.
But and then when we got to the studio, we did the first song, which was kind of a fragmented thing, same similar to the that 18-minute song on the last record, where it's like there's kind of a spot in the middle where you can punch in, and and we were
Mm-hmm.
recording the drums to tape, but
Oh,
with the
sick.
click. So it
Yeah.
did, I could still punch in, and he had like this ability to kind of flip between the two. So, but
Mm-hmm.
it did take a little bit of the strain away from that, like having to get it in one take or whatever.
Yeah.
But it still gave it that kind of organic flavor or whatever. But then on my birthday, we had to do the B side, and it's two 20-minute songs. And so on my birthday, and actually I was like, I guess a couple days ahead of schedule. And on my birthday, they're like, okay, we're gonna start recording the second half of the album, and we'll see how it goes. And there's like this spot in the middle where there's a tempo ramp up, and it just goes like I mean I made it, and it like literally
Yeah.
goes like straight line up, and the change for where the next riff happens is like you have to kind of guess where it is,
Mm.
where it clicks into a steady tempo, and then that's where the next part of the song starts. So I, in my brain, I kind of already told myself it's fine. You're probably not going to get it. So just,
Yeah. Yeah.
just try, and then you'll punch in there. It'll be totally fine.
Yeah.
And I played the entire 20-minute song front to back with all four of us in the room, and we just did
Mm-hmm.
it. And we just did it, and we
Sick.
got the
Sick.
part. And I remember that feeling of like, we got there, and I wouldn't know that we got it right because there's another tempo change that came up
Mm.
next. And I wouldn't know until the next riff if I actually got it right.
Gotcha.
And when that riff came and I got it right, I was like, holy shit, it happened. And that was like one of those moments where it was like I was in the flow state. I was
Yeah.
being kind to myself, and I was being easy on
Mm-hmm.
myself. And I wasn't saying, Isaac, if you fuck this up, like you're a bad drummer and all that shit. And it was more like, hey man, sometimes you're gonna fuck up, and maybe you'll fuck up, and it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fine.
Just gun for it.
Just do it again. But
Yeah.
I got it, and I think I punched in a couple things on the take, so like
Mm-hmm.
there was like a couple fills. I was like, I could do that better.
In
Just
20 minutes, you fucking poser. No, no, but I totally feel that. What you're talking about in terms of the issues of recording to tape, I think are really pertinent in terms of like it's really tricky when you kind of want to have it both ways, so to speak.
Mm,
Like the reality of recording a tape when you can't punch in is that you just have to live with certain things that
mm,
I still remember like a song on maybe it was Years Past Matter where it
mm.
wasn't quite 20, but it was like, it was one of like these 13-minuters where there's like a moment where I kind of lost the plot. And I was like, oh man, I think we got to do it again. And Colin's like, dude, I'm not doing 13 minutes for 12 seconds, like, and
Yeah,
he's right, but I still hear it.
right. And Colin is I love Colin, and
Yeah.
he is so lenient about that, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
very good. But
Yeah.
also, it does mean, for example, on World's Blood, there were a couple parts where I was like, I don't know if that's on. Like, I feel like it's not quite. And he's like, Nah, dude, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
don't. I mean, he's like, I think it's fine. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's fine, man. But I
Man
do.
likes a little bit of loosey goosey, it's cool.
And
But yeah.
I appreciate that, and it does. Also, here's by the way, he's been sitting here for a while.
Oh,
And I
buddy.
you
Oh
you
my
met him when
lord.
you stayed here, I think.
Yeah, but this is an adorable cat. I was leasing a cat for a while, man. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, nice, nice. Um, but yeah. So what I was saying is like it's really nice sometimes to have that, but then there are other times where it's like I kind of want someone to be like
Yeah.
kicking
Yeah.
my ass a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like I think you can do it better, like stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
I
totally.
think there's a good happy medium there. But yeah, I know what you mean, man. It's like you get a take and you think well, that I what about, what about what I want? What if I want it to be this way or but then there's also that you got to kind of let yourself have a little bit of room too.
Yeah,
And I think Collins even said this too, and he's like, "Yeah, man. I mean, I've left fuck ups on all my records pretty much." And I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
I would never be able to tell because your music is so insane. Like, there's no way I would even know. I figured it out. That's what you guys you cracked the code. No one can say that you fucked up because you're avant garde.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's all purposeful.
Figured
Every
it out.
fucking, especially when like he turns around to me and he's like, that means I've not done a single thing wrong, but I'm just cruising. That's the look of like pure confidence in me.
Oh yeah. No, I love that. And I think Robert Fripp said some same thing. He's like, I leave fuck ups for my fans to find or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah,
all right, or or is that just him fronting? Who knows? But
but no, man, I live for the fuck ups. They make it real to me. You know what
they
I
do.
mean?
They
Like
do.
they make the rest of it an actual thing to me. If it's perfect, I'm bored and I don't believe it in the same way.
Yes.
Like even if
Yes.
the guy was truly perfect, it's no fun. It's just no fun. I want to hear some struggle. I want to hear some like this is hard.
Yeah. I think we talked about that too, where it's like if you watch a show and there's a guy playing like a little bit above his own ability and he's like,
Yeah,
or he or she is like about to fall off the rails at any moment,
yeah,
it kind of gives you this like it's like that excitement, of like, oh man.
absolutely.
And I think we talked about this about some of our favorite records, like Mardrown, I think is a cool example
Yeah,
of this, of like it's just unhinged enough that
yeah, man.
and also, I mean, Luke hates the record, but definitely Obscura to me is like that, where it's like
Absolutely.
if it was played perfectly, I don't know if it would be as groundbreaking and like so like
It would be
yeah,
from wisdom to hate, I think, which
yeah,
is a great fucking record,
great
but it's
record.
not obscure. It's not obscure.
It's a great record. Yeah.
Yeah,
Obscura is like this whole other beast that will go down in
yeah.
history as like a complete game changer for extreme metal 100%. And
I mean, I feel like I've told you the story of Big Master and me like tripping out for hours listening to that record, like
yeah,
tripping balls listening to the record and then trying to play it again and it was skipping. We just listened to it skip for like 3 hours.
I love that. I love that.
I think that was like an origin story.
Yeah. I mean, look at what you do now.
Yeah.
It's basically Obscura skipping, right? That's like Garon and
That would
like
be the best back of jacket fucking quote I could ever get.
yeah. I mean, and then you could get a guy sitting in that like meditation pose, but he's got like an Aphex Twin face or something.
Apex Twin could do that. That would be kind of sick.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. No, actually, that brings up an interesting thing that I
Wow,
can
that's all right.
I can tell you about this discussion of perfection versus not or whatever.
Hmm, hmm.
So you're gonna hate this. You're gonna hate this. Just giving a preface to all of our drummer listeners, you're all gonna hate this. Um, but I'm working on a new project right now, and it's very much in the songs are written, and
Okay.
it's a themed on older Godzilla movies, and
Okay.
it's like blackened, spacey slam death metal.
I'm sorry. Did you just say blackened spacey slam?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
So this is
Just
that.
wanted to make sure I heard that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So this kind of started on the last tour with Colin and Jeff and I. We
Hmm.
were just like watching Godzilla movies in the green room a lot. Um, I was like, Godzilla is so fucking metal. Like it's just extremely metal as a concept. And I
Yeah,
was
fair.
and I know that there's obviously the band Gojira, okay, but they don't
Yeah,
really talk
yeah.
about it. There's like some bands that have dabbled in it, but I feel like they've never really like. There's something about like old VHS Godzilla movies. It just has this vibe, you know, like many
Mhm.
things. Um, so I decided to make a new band because what else am I gonna do?
Yeah,
Uh,
no, you don't have enough bands.
so but this time it doesn't need to be like a real thing. And I was actually kind of inspired by Colin and you guys
Mhm.
and just the kind of approach to music that doesn't need to be always like the thing. It doesn't need to be
Right,
an
right.
album. It can just be a release. It can be a
Yeah,
demo. It can be a this. It
yeah.
doesn't need to be like, it can be Slam 420. Fucking, fantastic album.
The best shit I've ever done,
Absolutely.
barring
Absolutely.
barring nothing.
I mean, it's just art. I mean, of course.
Yeah.
You know what is art? I'm not even joking. Is the fact that I literally did not know that y'all were in that band because I told Colin this too. McMaster posted on Instagram that he had found it on the subway. I didn't. I just did not catch that as a joke, and I just totally believed it. I was like,
Oh, that's so
that.
sick.
I was like, that is so crazy. You found this fucking weed fucking slam thing.
That's so
Anyway,
sick.
that's a level of meta humor that I just feel like is lost today. But um,
That was absolutely born of like just brain sponge on tour, where we
amazing.
started like it was one of those tour games where we just started like saying titles and replacing words with slam and like slowly replacing more and more with slam. So it was like sweet home Alabama becomes sweet home Slamabama. It becomes like sweet Slamabama. Would become Slamabama. Would become
Yeah,
slam and slamma. And then we just be saying like slam to each other. We just
that
communicated like that scene in The Wire with fuck, but we just say slam.
that's the best part of tours when your brain is disintegrated so much that you just start making sounds at each other. Yeah, no real
the long
conversations. Yeah, or
the
entire.
Longmont Potion Castle effect is what I
Definitely,
think of it as. Which
definitely.
man, I was blown away the first time I was in Longmont. I was like, this place is real. Are
Yeah,
you kidding me?
real dude. That guy is like a local legend. That guy is a
I mean,
fucking
he's a fucking national legend, international
truly,
legend.
truly. But yeah, so let me get back to what you're gonna hate. Let me just get back to
All right. I'm
um.
ready.
So I wrote the whole demo, and I decided because maybe it's laziness, but it's also I decided to program all the drums.
Posing.
And I decided to set the BPM at a point where I would not be able to play it personally.
That makes it that
Yeah,
makes it cooler.
yeah. So I was like, how fast on this last Blood Incantation record, we were using a click, and there was like a
Yeah,
couple parts that were getting, I was doing, whatever 230,
that's
uh,
pretty fucking speedy, Doug.
doing like full on blast beats at 230,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
hard. So I'm like, all right, 300 BPM. Let's fucking So there are blast beats on this fucking demo that are like, it almost doesn't even sound like drums. It's just like it just
you
sounds
ever
like.
you ever you ever met the Captured by Robots guy?
Yeah. He a buddy of mine has been going to his shows since like the early 2000s, I
Oh,
guess.
word. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, some of the shit he has that thing do, it becomes a
Yeah.
note. It stops being like articulated
Yeah.
sound. It just becomes like whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like one note. Yeah. So yeah, like I was like, okay, it's gonna have all programmed drums to kind of make this whole non-human vibe or whatever, and also just make it super extreme. That it's
Mm-hmm.
uh unhinged. And then I'm gonna do. I'm trying to get Takashi from Anatomia. I'm actually talking to him right now, but we'll see. But I'm trying to get somebody who can do all the lyrics in Japanese, and so
Word.
it's just gonna be all like death growls in Japanese, over this like warped like blackens fucking slam stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
Warped Black and Slam. Yeah, fuck
Yeah,
yeah, dude. If that doesn't work out, I can try to put you in touch with Yosh,
yeah.
from Bloody Panda,
Oh,
who
cool.
done some shit with Mick and Colin more recently.
Awesome. Yeah, no, like yeah, I mean I'm open to a lot of things and then actually Joey from Wayfarer, he's gonna do a guest solo on it. And I talked to Colin
Sick.
about it and I'm gonna send it to him when it's like everything's recorded and he was like, you know, he was like, yeah, I mean I'd be down to like fuck with it or put some synth
Sick.
or mix it or
Sick, man.
whatever. So, that was my kind of like little pet project I did over the winter, which was fun. But it was funny actually sending it to Takashi too because he also plays drums and I was almost like
Hmm.
just so you know there's program drums. Don't be offended. but uh
Like
but
I
yeah,
like programming when it's used in ways that like are like where you're really like stressing the program nature of the thing,
mm,
either in like a obscene way like you're talking about, or like
mm,
work that transform God sort of austerity
yeah,
kind of way,
yeah.
like but
There's
like
actually
lean into the programming if you're programming, don't just make it
totally.
sound like a human.
Yeah, and that's what I've been definitely trying to do. And actually, there are a couple little Blue House Nord little kind of nods in it,
Mm,
a little bit. It kind of goes in that somewhat a little bit in that direction at times. But yeah, because I love that. It's like intentionally, obviously not a
mm,
person, and that I think that it just it's like using its own instrument,
mm-hmm.
to be its own thing. And
Yeah.
something that I actually really enjoyed as a drummer programming drums was I would be like, okay, I'm gonna make this fill impossible to play. It'd be like, multiple like four things hitting at the same time, you know, that would be four. You need four hands, essentially.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
so that's just
Sick.
like it's just fun to do shit like that where you're just like
What's it called, man?
so working title is Kaiju Jima, which means Monster Island. So
Okay.
yeah, but I'm actually going to see if Takashi even has a better idea. We'll see.
Work.
We'll see. But that's kind of the working thing, and then I want the art to just be like blown out VHS style, like Godzilla. So um, so we'll see what happens with that. But it was a fun exercise too because you start using your drummer brain instead of from the body first. You start thinking like
Hmm.
and I found myself like singing it, maybe in like the way that like like the Indian
Interesting.
tabla guys will be like
Ah, yeah, yeah. Where
like,
they're like, this is the like it's the
yeah,
shit I'm about to fucking lay down. Let me fucking tell
yeah,
you about it for a second.
yeah,
Now I'm
yeah.
gonna fucking play
Let me tell you a story about what I'm about to
it.
do here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that was like that was totally what it was kind of. I started finding myself doing that. I was like at my computer, like, okay, okay, yeah, let me do that, and then counting and like, okay, okay, there, find where the beat is and all that stuff. So yeah, it was a fun little exercise. I feel like it
Right on, man.
stretches something else.
Right on. Yeah, I imagine you get a lot of like different kinds of stretching from. You're talking a little bit about like Lykatanon, but
Mm,
like the trio of projects you're drumming in. I mean, how do you find it relatively comfortable, for instance, to do what you did, where you joined our tour with Wayfarer to play Roadburg, and we're
mm,
coming right into Blood Incantation. How was that in
yeah.
terms of like switching gears
Oh,
between bands and that sort of way?
I do find that to be annoying. Um, more so,
See if I got a plug
actually
in.
we were just talking about this too. How we really try to uh, to make sure that we
Oh
allow.
shit!
Oh,
Okay,
what's up?
I'm back.
You're back.
I
You're back.
lost volume for a second when I plugged into the charger. My
Oh, no
bad.
worries, no worries, no worries. um, yeah, I was just talking to Shane about this. That I we all of us, I mean, in all of our bands, we really try to like compartmentalize and not have too many things happening at the same time. It's definitely better
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah,
everybody. And you can
yeah.
switch gears because I think I mean, it's like taxing time wise, and then
Yeah.
it's like, you're trying to squeeze, and also, you're, and I think we talked about this, like you're definitely a long distance runner, and I'm definitely a sprinter when it comes to drums. Like I feel like I have like really good short bursts of energy, and I can like really get it. But I know you were saying you like to have like a couple sets in, and then you're like feeling good. Um,
I feel like I need a set to get myself to the place where I want to play a set.
yeah, and maybe
It's not ideal, but that's what it is.
no, I mean, also maybe too for me, it's like I feel like I just need a better work ethic, but it's just like I get so over playing drums pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, but so for me, I try not to double up on the same day for
Mm-hmm.
that reason. But
Right
I
on.
prefer to do like more times a week rather than
Yeah.
like all on one day,
Right.
that sort of practicing.
I
So
think
I
you had to a
prefer.
couple times in that song and dance.
Yes, yes, I did, and that was, I mean, that was just a crazy time too. Just all of the stuff going on, and then
Mm.
stormkeep 2 had to come in. That
Right. Because you guys had a tour like a couple months after that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, right when we got back from all of our stuff, then Chad came out and he was playing with doing
Right.
double
Yeah.
that shit. So it is, generally speaking, in an ideal world, right now we're kind of in a good spot because Wayfarer has the thing coming, and then after that, Blood Incantation has like a show, but then it's going to be Wayfarer for like a while, and that's
Sick.
nice. But as you know, Wayfarer is like it's like a very specific kind of drumming. Like
Yeah.
it's very pocket and it's very groove oriented, and it's very like I liken it to more like I think of like the drummer from like ZZ Top and Thin Lizzy and like that stuff. Obviously it's still
Yeah.
extreme and there's like blast beats and
Yeah.
stuff. But I still
Yeah.
think kind of
Yeah, there are these bursts of like extremity, but there's a
mhm.
lot of time where you better have
Mhm.
like decent shuffle skills or whatever, or it's
Yeah.
not going to work out so well.
Yeah, and that was like a skill set that I really had to develop over time because that was just where the band was going, and that's like where Shane
Mm-hmm.
was listening to stuff, and he would send me stuff, and I'd be like, "Well, I got to get a fucking tambourine." And now, I mean, now my my left leg is like so much better and autonomous because I had to do all this fucking tambourine shit with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, even at the time, I was like, "God damn it, I have to fucking do this." But
Was
you know,
cursing that tambourine a little bit, to be honest with you.
yeah, well, it's
I
very
couldn't
annoying.
get it to like chill, to like just stay out of my fucking way.
Yeah, it takes some
I
figuring
was
out.
there like hitting it to like knock it the fuck away from me.
Yeah, I had that happen a lot. In fact, I remember on our tour in Mexico, I broke it. I think I broke it and or it was like all the little symbol things on it like all fell
Oh,
off.
word.
I had to go
Serves you right.
I had to go buy a new one, and I got one at some just cheap, place, and
Mm-hmm.
that broke like immediately. And I always had that same issue. It was like, okay, now it's spinning around, it's coming, and now I can't
Yep.
blast beat because it's like right
Yep.
where I need
Yep.
to be. And so that just took a lot of time to figure out how to really make sure that it's just one more thing. Also, I have great news for you if you ever have to play in Wayfarer again. But we have gotten rid of the computer. Thank God.
No shit.
Yeah, there's no it's just all in one pedal now. That
Oh
all the
man.
tracks, and it doesn't need to be booted up. It doesn't need to have all that shit.
Dude,
So,
that mostly worked fine. But when
yeah.
it didn't work fine, it was really stressful. Like it
Yeah.
was fine, you know, because
Yeah.
ultimately it's like, all right, cool, let's just rip. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we don't need this, but at the same time, like they're like, I don't know what's right. I don't know if it's me or please help. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it was Joey's move. He found this thing, and it's just so nice. It has the click tracks, it has the backing tracks, but it's all in one thing, and it's just all it's hardware. It's just on a thing.
You
Download.
guys are going to Europe really soon, right?
Yeah, so we leave in like just over a month. I mean, it's like a month and a
Sick.
few days or something.
And
So
that's enslaved and who else?
it's just been Svalbard. I've never listened to them, so I
Oh, there. Yeah, I know the name. I've never checked them out either.
Yeah, I think they're I don't know, they're one of these like I guess it's like kind of crusty D beat, some kind of black metal, kind of this. I don't know. I haven't listened to it, but they're letting me borrow their drum set, so fuck yeah.
Sick,
Thank you to them.
sick.
Uh yeah, so that's awesome. But yeah, Enslaved, I mean that's gonna be fun and this is Wayfarer's first support tour really, so
Hmm.
um, that'll be fun to be able to just go out play to different crowds. And I feel the Enslaved crowd, I feel like that's just a built-in audience for us already.
I think so, man. I think you guys will have a lot of people who are into it, and you'll win over a hell of a lot of people who
Oh
have
yeah,
not been exposed to you guys. I think it'll be great for you.
thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I do have to tell you the story because I think I mean, it's just too cute to not share. But one of the first times that Jamie and I, because we've known each other since we were in high school, but we
Yeah.
met when we met Shane and the original guitarist Tanner
Yeah.
was because Jamie and I went to Black and Red, the CD store here, and we were trying to pick up the new Enslaved album at the time, which was Axioma Ithaca Odini, I think. And we
I'm
were,
iffy on that one.
yeah, it's fine, it's fine. But the album hadn't come out yet. Let's just say the album hadn't
Yeah.
come
Yeah. Fair.
and we were going to buy it because it's new Enslaved album. All right, cool. So we go to the CD store. It's like basically the day it came out, I think, and we knew they would have it. And there's a lady working, and we're like, "Hey, do you got the new Enslaved?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to go look for it." These two other metalhead guys walk into the CD store.
Oh man.
They're like, oh,
Uh,
like we're looking for this record that just came out, and we're like, oh, which one? And they're like, oh, the new Enslaved album. We're like, oh, we're actually asking her to grab that. Oh, we'll just tell her to grab two more. So she grabs two more, and we're like, oh, good to meet you. And then the next time I meet Shane, I'm like, whoa, dude, wait a second. Were you at Black and Red buying that Enslaved CD? And we're like, yeah. So all four of the original members of Wayfarer were actually trying to buy a Enslaved CD when we first.
so the fucking poetry of you guys going
Yeah,
out with enslaved. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
it feels like a full circle thing. It's cool.
Yeah. Goddamn. Goddamn. That's awesome.
But yeah, we're stoked,
Uh,
and I'm stoked to hear that you guys are gonna do some Krallis shit. That's fucking
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, yeah. We don't have it figured out, but like, it's really like Mick has gotten turned around, which is shocking. He's
Okay,
into
so
touring.
Colin said that that was the key
Yeah.
factor.
Yeah, but Colin also, dude, like
Yeah.
yeah, like I wasn't kidding. Like he came back from that tour with an energy he's never come back from a tour with
Wow.
in terms of being like stoked on touring. And so thank you for allowing me to fucking tour with my band.
I mean,
But yeah, we're definitely gonna do something. We're gonna talk to the peeps who did the Wayfarer tour.
that's awesome.
Uh, Mick already has a connection to them. Like we both
That's
mentioned
cool.
swamp booking and in the same like thread of emails, so try to
Amazing.
do something and see what happens.
I mean, that's so sick. I mean,
Yeah.
I love Krallis. It was
Mhm.
my first introduction to your guys' musical world back in what the fuck was it when you guys toured with Wolves in the Throne Room?
That was 2009.
That's so
Yeah.
crazy, man. That's
Yeah.
fucking
I was young.
15
You
years.
were a child, undoubtedly.
I was 20. I wasn't even, I like may have just turned 20 or like,
Yeah, because I
yeah.
was like maybe 25. I don't know.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
so crazy, man. That's
Yeah.
so cool. And like, that was like, I'll tell you this. This is a formative moment for me because I was, I was really into black metal and I was really into that stuff. And Krallis was a very unique band at the time. And I think a lot of people in the metal scene now don't really remember what it was like back then. But
Hmm.
like, I feel like metal wasn't as cool as it is now. You know,
For
Kanye
sure.
Kanye West wasn't wearing Burzum shirts. You know, so the internet hadn't popped off
Uh,
with it as hard yet, and so a band like Krallis, like I found out about your band because you were on tour with Wolves in the Throne Room, and they had just put out two hunters, I think, or was that Cascading?
it was no, it was the later
Not
one. I can't remember.
Cascade,
Um, yeah, yeah,
one of those. had just come out, and
Yeah, it was that one.
it was a big deal. It was a big deal, and I was like, yeah, I like this band, whatever. And I went, and then I looked up Krallis right before that tour, and I was like, this
So
is.
was that show at the Marquee Theater
It was
too?
with Gojira, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was so weird.
Super crazy. And
Yeah.
actually, at the time, I was such a fucking black metal purist piece of shit, whatever asshole. I was like, I'm not staying for Gojira. That's not fucking whatever. And now I'm like, that is a crazy time. I mean, I'm a fan.
Yeah,
They're not necessarily my favorite band, but
sure.
they're a good band. That was also a good time in their career right then.
I
And
love their first two records a lot, and they
yeah,
they didn't really fuck with either of those at that show. I was a little disappointed.
yeah. Well,
They fucked with them maybe like one song for the first record, nothing from the Link.
mm,
But that third record has some gems. It also has a song that sounds exactly like fucking Crazy Town.
oh my God, that's funny. I thought you were gonna say sounds exactly like Morbid Angel, but they probably
That
do
too.
both. They probably do both
That
in
was
the
just
same
range,
song.
If you can do both of those things, fuck man.
Crazy Angel, dude. Fucking yeah. Um, um, but yeah, like I remember this is just a funny anecdote, but the plight of a drummer was exposed at this particular show because I remember going to see you guys and I listened to the album before I went and I was like, this band's super cool. And you guys were playing, and there were so many cabs on stage from all because clearly none of the bands were sharing cabs, which is
Yep.
hilarious.
Yep.
I think at a place like the Marquee Theater, which is at the time I was like, that's a bigger place, but it's really it's smaller than even like the mid-sized place in Denver here.
Yeah.
And I would say what, three bands worth of cabs, everybody, and this is big amp, big cab days of
Mhm.
2009, and so you got just whatever, I mean, I'm guessing, at least what, fucking 10 or 12 cabs or something up there. And you were like hidden behind, and I was like, I want to watch the drummer. That's always, I'm a drummer. I want to watch the drummer. And you're just hiding behind this like fucking Lego box, full of fucking amps. And I was like, I can't fucking see the drummer, dude. This
I
fucking.
remember I remember that one because the stage is like yeah, the place is like decently sized, but the stage is kind of smaller than the place would sort of or maybe the stage just felt super small because there were so many fucking amps encroaching
But
on
yeah,
me.
I mean, it is not a huge stage. It's definitely not a huge stage. And you were like as far back and behind a bunch of shit as you could possibly. I remember. Um,
I never terribly mind that, but
no, but it was a cool show, and I bought the first Krauss record at that show, which I still have
oh,
uh,
amazing,
to this day. It's yeah.
amazing,
Let me grab it. Let me grab
sick.
it. All right, so yeah, so here's the first one.
Yeah, look at this fucking hipster
Look at this. Oh
hipster
yeah,
poser with his
and
Krallish record.
oh yeah, and
Dude,
I
that might be
remember
worth some fucking money.
I think because this is the green one too. This is a
Oh
green one.
yeah, yeah. We didn't make that many of those.
I think yeah, it's like pretty rare, and it's the first pressing I think, and
Yeah,
I
dude.
I bought it from McMaster himself.
Right
I
on.
remember, I remember him being like, "Do you want the green one or the black one?" And I was like, "I don't know, man." He's like, "There's this one." I was like, "Okay." Um, and then I'm pretty sure. Now I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
that I bought this one. I bought this
Hey,
one at Maryland Death Fest the year later, I think, in
I
2010.
think you told me you bought it from me.
I did. I think so. I
Yeah,
think I bought this and my
that's
shirt
crazy.
that I have
Because I
from
didn't know.
yeah.
I didn't know. Like we didn't meet until 2016 properly.
Whenever the Anacon tour, yeah, was that
Yeah,
that's
it had to have been because the Trump election in Canada,
yes, of course. How could I
a
forget?
disaster of a fucking show.
How could I fucking forget? We might get to do it again, buddy. Let's
Oh God,
Should we go on tour to Canada for during the election time?
Probably have to, right? Make it, yeah, really jinx it. Fucking,
Yeah.
I just remember like everybody was so angry with us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're like, you fucking Americans, because we're in Toronto.
Yeah,
And it's like, oh my God. Yeah.
like
You
fuck
think
you,
we
man.
are you fucking kidding me? Um, sorry to any listeners that might be MAGA or QAnon, but sorry if you're offended by this.
Yeah, no, they can go fuck themselves. It's fine. We're not bipartisan around here.
Um, but yeah, no, it's crazy to think. Yeah, I bought that stuff from you at Maryland Death Fest, and then didn't meet you for. But actually, no. So I'm also remembering now that I can't remember if because you were behind the merch table, and
Mhm.
I think either smoked weed or I at least in a past because I was out in that middle area like where because you guys were in the inside venue I think
It depends on which year. Yeah, in
2010.
fuck,
So 2010 you played outside but you were
yeah,
selling inside.
yes, inside, yeah, yeah, totally, yes.
Yeah. And then I think one of you got maybe it was Mick Barr, maybe it was somebody else, but I was also what's the main guy from Yob? His name I can't remember now.
Oh, Mike Shite.
Yeah, he. So it was like this
Dude, that
weird
guy, that
combo.
guy is so. That guy is one of the like the deepest death metal heads you'll ever meet. It's crazy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the nicest dudes, and also like
Yeah.
encyclopedic, like encyclopedia metallum knowledge of fucking like brutal death metal.
Hell yeah. Well, so it's
Yeah.
funny for me because at the time, I mean, I was just some fucking 20-year-old shithead who was just farting around and just being like, whoa, there's metal dudes, whatever. And I remember I was smoking a joint with one of you guys. I want to say it was Mick Barr. I think it was Mick
Okay.
Barr and maybe McMaster. Maybe, I don't remember.
It really could be anybody. I mean,
Could have been anybody.
let's be honest.
But I
Yeah.
was chatting with them, and I had a joint, and I was like, "You guys want to smoke?" Or someone had, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, I'll smoke a joint." And then Mike Shy was like, "Oh, like is that a spliff?" And I was like, "No fucking way, this is fucking America, dude." Um, and me as little baby Isaac was smoking weed with Kraus and Yob just as like a, just a shithead, and here we are
Oh
now.
man. Oh, we successfully corrupted the youth. That fucking rules.
Exactly. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. It's what you got to do, you know.
So man, I feel like we've covered a lot of fucking territory. Um, I feel like there's a couple like general questions maybe I want to ask you, and
Sure. Yeah,
then
yeah.
and then I'll fucking quit punishing you and let you get on with your
Oh,
with
dude.
your night.
I'm not gonna do fucking shit tonight. I mean, what is it? I mean, really, it's up to you at this point. But
I theoretically got a fucking pack. Like I got a show here tomorrow and then short tour, and I'm
oh
surrounded
yeah,
by the remnants of my drum kit, not packed up and ready to go. I'm
uh,
contemplating doing it tonight or doing it or coming in tomorrow a little earlier doing it, and I'm not sure yet.
oh, don't
Yeah,
do that. You got to do it
yeah,
tonight, man.
yeah. I gotta do it tonight.
Do it tonight. You don't
God
think
damn.
yourself tomorrow, man.
You're fucking right. I know you're right, but I don't wanna. It'll
That's
be
like
fun
perpetual.
though.
Okay, out of
Yeah,
before we your next question,
yeah, yeah. No,
before we
please.
close this conclusion up,
No,
and all.
forestall me from having to do this shit. No,
but
I don't. I don't wanna.
the perpetual and this is the thing. This is the thing
Yeah,
about touring as a drummer.
yeah,
You have to love playing drums. And I think you told me this too. I think
yeah.
we you maybe this maybe I'm re-quoting you, but you have to really love playing drums because it is such a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Uh, and there have been times where I don't love it, and it makes it a lot harder. Makes it a lot harder to do this shit like packing your shit up, putting in
Yeah.
your own car, or taking it, doing whatever you have to do with it. Um,
Oh
makes it a lot.
fuck, that does jog the memory of something I was completely gonna forget to ask you, and now it's in there. But please
Okay.
proceed.
Oh, I mean that was mostly it, but I was just gonna say, you know, it's important to like kind of what you said before. You got to kind of just pretend like you love it. If you even if you're not, you just be like, okay, I know that this is important. You just got to do it. You got to kind of put yourself in that position because sometimes it'll cycle itself back. And on this
Mm-hmm.
last run of stuff that I did with Wayfarer, I really found re with and also the new Blood Incantation record, I like
Mm-hmm.
refound a new love and appreciation for playing drums that I didn't have for a little while.
Dude, that's
So
so sick.
yeah,
It's,
it's a
it's funny because the Wayfarer did that for me
yeah.
also. Like I hadn't toured since pre-COVID, and
Mm.
that tour was one of the best times I've ever had. And
Oh
I even liked the bullshit. You know what I mean? All the ridiculous tour
yeah.
like fuckery
Yeah.
and loading and whatever. I was just having a great goddamn time.
Hell yeah. I mean, and despite the horrible people that are in that
Yeah,
band,
exactly,
it's just
exactly. Yeah,
just
the
torment.
misery of those guys.
It's
Yeah.
misery, no. I mean, there's really not a better group of guys, those guys, but
Yeah, what I remember to talk about. Tell me about Le Tigre.
Le Tigre.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay, Despacio, Le Tigre Despacio. Is that what we're talking about?
your rug.
My rug. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yes. Let me tell you about my rug. Okay.
Because you're a rug guy, and I've always
I am a
wanted
rug
to be a
guy.
rug guy, but I'm too afraid to make a decision to actually put tape down, so it doesn't happen, and I'm just constantly
Yeah.
fucking myself over.
Yeah. So I've gone back and forth on the tape thing, but
Mm.
El Tigre specifically was my dad's rug, and if you didn't know, I don't know if we've talked about it too much, but my dad played drums and he also played
Mm-hmm.
guitar. I was fucked from the start. There's no way out of it. Um, so I I inherited a couple things from him, and that's one of them was my drum rug, and it's yeah, it's a very sick rug. But there was at one point I was going to throw it out, but I'm glad I didn't because
Oh man,
there was this huge leak in it was just getting dirty. Rugs get
sorry
dirty.
about that.
But there was like I had moved it into my storage unit, I think, and then
Mm.
a big leak happened in the practice space, and then we got rid of a rug, and I was like, oh well, bringing back El Tigre, and I'm glad I did because it's back in the mix. And he's done many tours, and I did put my tape down for my drum set. I mean, shit, like years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Yeah,
say 20, probably around the time I fucking saw you play at Maryland Death Fest.
goddamn. Yeah, that's a long
Sometime
time.
around there, I would
No,
guess
I'm kind of envious of that, but I
2012.
also feel like people just don't. It's one of these inside baseball things where people don't know that guys have like their rugs that are like family members
Mm.
that they're attached to.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
totally.
I know of guys who have like fought homeless dudes on the sidewalk to get their rugs back.
Hell
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. I
just
would,
like
I would do that. I would do that for sure. No, and I can't even believe that I was thinking about getting rid of it at one point because it's just like such a part of history at this point, to me and just to the crew too. I mean, even to the other guys in Wayfarer, because I mean that's
yeah.
the first however many tours. I mean, I'm sure I had it on the Anacon tour,
You
probably.
absolutely did, man. That's when I
Yeah,
met the fella,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I've been reacquainted a couple times over the years.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now it's interesting. I have kind of a couple different formations where I've
Oh,
changed at least where like specific things go, but
interesting.
also what kind of changed the dynamic is that I have a second drum set as well. So,
Right,
so the,
right.
the Yamaha goes with El Tigre. It's they
I
like
see.
they're fused, they're one.
The
The Yamaha stereo
DNA
system.
has mixed and mingled over the fucking years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. But
So,
now I've got one of these just, these rock and roller things for my other kit.
mhm,
Um which works fine and
yeah,
for
the
the
flex
road.
personality.
Yeah, yeah. Um but yeah, I mean, I think also the other thing is that I keep my drum kit I in to my standards. I mean,
Yeah.
I keep my drum kit pretty simple compared to like a
Yeah,
lot of these like death metal guys who have like
abs- absolutely.
5 or 6 toms and like 2 kicks and like 100 cymbals, and
Chords of symbols. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, or like a rack, like
yeah. Oh, rack.
I
Oh,
had to use Patrice's rack on that tour, and it
huh.
was just so annoying. But
I fucking hate racks, dude.
I hate them. They do not save.
Racks are weekend warrior shit for the most part. Like it's
Yeah, I
for
agree.
people who don't have to set up drums.
I agree. No, I totally agree. I mean, it's like it does not save you any time. Like the idea is that okay, I have this many cymbals, and I don't want to set up all these cymbal stands. Okay,
Yeah,
sure, but now you have a rack where
yeah.
every
Now
piece
you
of
have
it
to
you have
build
to
your
put
rack.
together. And now you have to build a rack, and half the time it doesn't get built correctly.
Yeah.
Something breaks, something gets bent, or whatever, and then you're like, "What the hell am I doing?" And actually, that happened on that tour. Like one of the hinges on it, like, broke off, like sheared, like broke
Oh,
off,
cool.
and I
Yeah.
was like, "Well, how are we going to do this today?" Okay, well, and luckily Patrice is a pretty handy guy, so he was able to fix something
Right.
up. It was still just like every day I'm just like this fucking thing. I'm ready to throw this thing in the fucking trash. um,
So when you're
but
at when you're not dealing with somebody else's shit, but you're at your own shit,
yeah.
um, what's your relationship to the drums in terms of like
Hmm.
how far close to it are you? Would you say
Hmm.
for one?
Huh. Well, I mean, actually, that does also change per band because
Interesting.
with Wayfarer, as you probably know since you've played in the band,
Mm.
um, there's a lot of these like rim kind of hit things that I do,
Yep.
and,
Yep.
not as much on the new album, which is
Hmm.
but on the previous 2 albums, I do it a lot.
For
And
sure.
so I would always have to have my snare a little bit further from the toms than I would usually have it, so that I have room to do that. And when I
Gotcha.
get to do that, and then I start playing the set, and then I'm like, oh god damn it, what am I going to? Also, perpetual warfare with sound people about that
Mm.
because they always want to put the snare mic somewhere, and I'm like, I'm gonna hit this like a million times. So it's always
You don't
that.
understand. I'm not just gonna hit the center of the drum, dude.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. But I would say, I mean, generally speaking, I like to have my snare pretty much right in my lap.
Mm.
And I usually am pretty close up. So that like the snare, I
You like to
mean,
kind of be on top of the kicks.
yes, yes, I do. I mean, but I also switch up like different parts. So
Mm.
like, when I
Interesting.
do like really fast double bass, I'll kind of sit back a little bit and I bring my
Mm.
feet back. And
Mm.
but if I'm doing like really like slower, like eighth note type of stuff,
Yeah.
um, but it's double kick, I kind of come in a little closer. So
Hmm.
just kind of depends. Um, but yeah, I would say generally speaking, I like to be more on top of the kit than away.
Mm.
Generally speaking,
Interesting.
yeah.
And like how you sit relatively low, would you say, or?
So this is something that I've been kind of adjusting a lot.
Hmm.
I used to be I used to be kind of a low sitter, or
Hmm.
not as low as like Chad who plays in Stormkeep and Necrod and all those bands.
Right.
He is like a low sitter. He is like down.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm like it's
Gotcha.
wild to me. But also, people's frames are different and they have different,
Absolutely. Yeah.
body shapes and all that. But I've experimented with going a little higher than my norm recently. Um, I don't know. I kind of find like a medium, I guess, that kind of
Hmm.
because I like being up high enough where I can, have my heel up in a decent in a
Mm.
comfortable way where it's
Hmm.
not my heel isn't kind of like sagging down to the floor too
That,
much.
that
Uh,
makes sense.
and
Yeah, you
then
kind of like your heels sort of up.
yeah, yes, yes. Generally speaking, yeah. When I'm especially doing double bass stuff,
Hmm.
yeah, my heel is definitely pretty up there and um usually not flat footed too
Yeah.
much. So
How do you
that's why I do that. Yeah.
how do you think about like how if somebody asked you to describe like your double kick technique, how would you do so? Like what would you use one of the like stupid nomenclatures or
No,
is it fall into yeah.
no, I wouldn't. I mean, I just don't. I just, I just never took the time to learn like the swivel techniques or
Yeah.
any of
Yeah.
that stuff.
Do you
Um,
think you do any of that
but I think
naturalistic or
subconsciously, yeah, I don't know. Well, I will say my technique changed a little bit when I
hmm,
started using triggers, but not
interesting?
because I started hitting softer, but
Hmm.
because I could actually hear it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can get the same effect if you have like a really good mic and you can
Yeah.
have it somewhere in the
Totally.
room. Um, I now I've been using the trigger just as like a monitor, basically, just so I can like actually hear
Right on.
what I'm playing and like, instead of me guessing, like I would be playing really fast stuff and I would just
Yeah.
guess. I'd be like, I think I'm
Yeah.
doing
Totally.
15th note that's on time, like
So
I
much of the
think it's
time,
good.
that's what we're doing is trying to feel it, not hear it,
Mhm.
and try to get used to that bargain.
Yeah, and so there's a good middle ground because I did also discover if I have that trigger too loud in my monitor, it is very distracting as
Mm,
well. So I started finding that I was listening to it too much and that I was like, okay, um, I need to bring it down a little bit so that I can feel it, but
right.
I need to tune into it and hear it that I can. So that's kind of
Makes
where
sense.
yeah, that's kind of where I was getting with it. But that really helped me with my technique because then I was like, oh, that's where my triplet is. That's where the feel.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
and for example, on the new Wayfarer record, there's actually some really the slowest parts are actually some of the hardest. Like I have
Mm.
to do these like slow double bass where it's like I could do it one footed, but it feels a little bit weird to do
I
it.
know that catch zone
Yeah,
where
where it's
you're
like
like,
it's just like a
yeah,
doing it two-footed is almost weird. It's almost weird to
yeah,
do it that way. So I just generally default to doing it two-footed because I'm doing fast double bass right before it. So then it's just
right, right.
kind of easier just to flow from one part to the other. But those are actually the parts that are hardest, but they actually does help to have that trigger just so I know it's like, okay, I
Mm,
am there. It's not, and so sometimes it helps with that too.
sure.
Uh, but yeah, I found myself also sliding back onto the back of the pedal
Hmm.
more now than I used to
Mm.
uh, for the faster stuff. And I started like when I get to like those really high tempos doing on there's like a new Wayfarer song that actually has one of my faster double bass parts. It's on that False
Right.
Constellation song, and I do this like I don't know. I guess it would be like a 30-second note triplet. I think that's happening.
Okay.
If I had to describe it. So to me, it's just like this kind of wave of
Yeah.
with my feet at the bottom, and but having that trigger, being able to know, okay, I'm
Like
I'm
you're actually playing the thing.
I'm actually doing it. I'm not just like
Yeah.
guessing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Because
yeah.
sometimes you guess right, and sometimes it's not quite exactly music.
Well, and that's the pro and con, right?
Yeah.
With no triggers, you get that little wiggle room where
Yeah.
even if it's mic'd really well, if it's really fast,
Yeah.
you're gonna if you're missing here and there, it's not a big
Yeah.
deal, like
Yeah.
whatever. But
Totally.
if I mean nothing worse than a triggered drum, like kick drum that's like popcorn. That's like
Oh, dude, yeah, yeah. It's
it's
so painful, and my heart goes out every time.
yes,
I'm like,
yes,
oh
same,
yeah, oh buddy,
same.
oh poor,
And you
poor,
can,
poor side.
and those are the drummers where I'm like, just don't use them. Just don't use them.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
you're not a bad. It doesn't mean you're a bad drummer. And I think that's
Yeah,
like being really precise with that like technology it's a specific skill. It's not
totally,
it's not that that means that you're good or bad or whatever. Um,
totally.
it
And it's like
does.
it's
Yeah.
it's a philosophical thing, right? In terms of
Right.
like I get the argument that like if you want your kicks to be heard, like with articulation,
Yeah,
past a certain tempo, you need it, and it's up to you whether you give a fuck whether your kicks are heard with articulation past a certain tempo or not. You know.
totally, totally. As we've played different types of shows. I mean, there's different styles. I mean, Wayfarer doesn't really need it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yeah.
kind of like having it in the mix for some of those parts, but like generally
Yeah.
speaking, it's not necessary. Like it doesn't even for the fast parts, it's cool that you feel it. It doesn't need
Yeah.
to
It's
be
it, the
articulated.
vibe of Wayfarer is not a triggery vibe.
Yeah, but like for example, for the new Blood Incantation record, where I'm doing these like really fast double bass parts for
Mm-hmm.
like very extended periods of time,
Yeah.
like it, I love a lot of those records where it's just like pummeling, crushing kick drum on you,
Yeah. For sure.
and Morbid Angel is totally sound replaced, and like
Yeah.
that shit sounds awesome. But
Yeah.
that I like it. Just it's different for different bands, and like I love.
Yeah.
There's tons of black metal that I actually do not want it to be triggered like at all because,
Mm-hmm.
for example, there's this band. Do you know the Norwegian band Mara? It's or Mare
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really like that band. They're very good. I've
Yeah.
seen them live, and they're very good live.
Oh,
The
sick.
album that they did has this triggered drum, this triggered kick drum that just
Mm-hmm.
drives me crazy because I'm just like, that is just not the style I'm looking for this
Yeah.
band. But I talk to other people and they just don't even notice it. They're just like, yeah, whatever. It just sounds like drums, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay,
Well, a
yeah,
lot of people also think drums like when they think of what drums sound like, they're not thinking of drums anymore. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. That's true.
right. There's a whole other can of fucking worms. But
Yeah,
no, I mean it's pretty interesting, like the sort of like give and take of what they are and what they do for you, and
mm,
and yeah, I have great sympathy for certain kinds of metal production that are
mm,
super wonky sounding in that respect. I really like the era. I think we talked about this where shit was like triggered or sound replaced, but not quantized or fixed in any way. So it's just
totally,
really wacky sounding. Like, I fucking love
totally.
that. It
Yeah,
sounded my childhood.
do you listen to Oppressor, that band? Um,
I don't think so.
I think we might have been talking about it.
Mm,
But they're that totally that era of this like they're like
word.
technical death
Yeah.
metal
Okay,
of,
sick.
of the 90s.
Like when technical death metal wasn't a pejorative, when
It,
it was actually good.
but when it was actually good.
Yeah.
Exactly. When it was like they're just playing death metal in the old school style, but it's just a crazier. It's just crazier
Right.
version
Right.
of it.
Right.
And it's
Sick.
also triggered and it has that weird, they weren't really figuring out metal production yet with some of that stuff. They're like, they couldn't afford to go to probably like the big places. So
Yeah.
they're being produced by some local guy who doesn't really know. But it's almost better, because you're like, it's like
Totally.
this weird, every instrument has this like weird little spot, and the drums are not perfect, and you just hear this like kind of insane, it's almost becomes its own new instrument in that way.
Yeah, man. Fuck yeah. I mean, like the extreme example is Battles in the North, I guess.
Yeah, yes, yes.
It's just hallucinatory.
Isn't the story on that? I mean, I don't know. This might be one of those rumors that I heard
Did he
where
like sped it up or something?
that he like that Abbott recorded the drums, sped up the drums, and then recorded the guitars on top. That's what
I've heard that too. I have no idea whether it's apocryphal or not.
I should have asked because actually Hellhammer on the tour because Mayhem was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was talking about his era in playing live for Immortal because
Oh,
he
word.
he played for them in the 90s, and actually he's a good example of this. I actually really do like his drumming. It's
Yeah.
very different and unique, but I wouldn't classify him in like the stereotypically like good. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is why I like him.
Yeah. He still has personality.
He does, and he plays some weird shit sometimes. We're like,
Yeah.
what is that? Like, why, but he was talking about that. I'm like, damn, I should have asked him. Like, what's the deal with that fucking album? You probably know.
Yeah. Yeah. Abbott will take it to his grave now.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's so
So,
those like examples of
uh,
stuff like that.
what size sticks do you use, dude?
I use 5BN. So I've been doing nylon
Yeah,
tip for a long time now. And
right. You like the nylon? I forgot.
yeah. I've been doing that for shit. I mean, I would guess 6 years or something. And I do Vader 5B, and
Hmm.
that's I mean that's like pretty much I can only play with those at this point. Like every
We're
time,
we're almost we're almost the same, just minus the end.
yeah. I feel like I've met a lot of drummers. 5B is a pretty popular among metal drummers. I feel like because they
Just a nice
don't.
Goldilocks, right?
You kind it really is. It really is. It's that golden zone. Yeah, for sure. It's like just heavy enough that you have that something to you have something to hold on to, and it's really giving you the momentum that you need. But it's
Hmm.
not so heavy that it's like a tree trunk. I mean, my buddy
Yeah.
Peter, who played in my old band Stoic Dissension, he has his
Hmm.
own bands, and he's one of these like he's a fucking muscle man. Like he is
Does
he
he use like marching sticks or something? Or
he does like I mean I want to say it was like the two. Definitely, it was at least 2B, but I think it might have been
yeah,
bigger than those.
right.
Yeah, but they felt like tree trunks. You're just like fucking like
Hmm.
Jesus Christ, But he's like he was an ex-marine, fucking like you know
Gotcha. Gotcha.
dude, and he's like, yeah, this is what I use. I'm like, damn, all right.
You can
um,
throw it around. Fair enough.
yeah, but I feel like 5B. That's I mean, you said that's kind of what you do too. I feel like I was turned on to Vader by Eli from Spectral Voice actually,
Hmm.
and he turned me on to the Vader sticks. And
What
those
were you messing with before there?
I was just kind of buying whatever, I guess. I mean, I would
Yeah.
try Thick Earth and they would just fucking break. I don't know.
Break. Yeah.
Yeah, I
No,
just
I have a theory that when Vic first died, something went
mm,
south with their quality control because around
uh,
the same time I started to get like bad batch after bad batch.
interesting. Yeah, because I mean, it's like it's one of the biggest names, and I
Yeah.
just try it, and I would be like, I'd break them like instantly. I'm like, I don't know what
Yeah.
the deal
It
is.
would look like fucked up and warped.
Yep, yep. And then if you go cheap on it because you want to save money, then those
It's
break
gonna break them immediately.
immediately.
Yeah.
So then I started finding it's like, okay. And then it was like Guitar Center had these like packs of the Vader 5BN, and you could get 4 packs for the price of three or something like that. You got
Right.
three. And so I would just buy those, just like big kind of blocks,
The bricks. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
and
Um.
and I feel like I break less sticks now than I used to, but I still break more sticks in Wayfarer than Blood Incantation.
That sort of weirdly makes sense to me.
Yeah,
There's more things that abuse a stick in a certain way,
yeah,
like all that rim stuff
yeah. The
chipping
rim
away. You
stuff.
know?
I hit harder, I think,
Yeah,
generally
yeah,
in
because
Wayfarer.
the tempos are not the same.
Tempos are not the same. There's more space for me
Yeah,
to, you know,
yeah,
really
yeah,
hit stuff.
totally.
Yeah.
What are you using for pedals these days?
Yeah, man. I've been sticking with my Speed Cobras.
Sick.
I've had them for what was it? I think I got them in 2022, right before Maryland Death Fest, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and they have just been treating me great because they're the longboard.
Yep, yep,
But have the chain drive, which I've tried the direct drive. It's
yeah,
just I just don't think it's for me.
yep.
People tell me that you could get, I remember there was this guy and well actually this happens to me a lot. I mean, I don't know if this happens to you. It's like people with weed. They're like, you just gotta try
Yeah,
you gotta try the right strain, and I'm just
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. No, with the direct drive, yes,
and
for fucking sure.
so there's this guy in Poland. He has his own company out there. I can't
Oh,
remember.
the Carcio.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's like
I saw some of those earlier
really
today.
bulky. It like kind of looks like
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
So he was at the show with Cannibal Corpse. And he was like, "Hey man, like I'll get you some. How much,
yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, I don't want to take anything I might not like. And he's like, Here, I'm gonna give you my card. Just hit me up. I'll send you a pair. And I was like, okay, I just really don't want to commit to anything, I would really,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he was just, really, he's like, kind of did that whole, he's like, trust me, you'll be able
yeah.
to find your way on these. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. And then this happened to me again. There was a guy with Axis pedals
Mhm.
because Hellhammer uses them.
Right.
And the guy for Axis pedals is there at our show in San Diego. And he's like, oh, man, you got to try it. And I'm like, oh, I'm just not a direct drive guy.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
same thing, just like, no, man, you just gotta, you can get the same action. Trust me. And I'm like, I just don't think so. But
Yeah, I don't think so either, dude. I moved to like a fancy strap, which I'm super
yeah.
into. The Austrian dude,
Hmm,
Dennis makes the Darwins.
cool.
They're fucking great. But yeah,
Nice.
I've never been comfortable with direct drive either. I just don't. It doesn't gel for me.
Yeah, yeah. And actually I really do want to try uh my buddy was telling me, oh, my cat is freaking out over here. Anyways, he's fine. Um this buddy of mine was telling me that he uses the wooden mallet beaters.
Oh yeah.
And I really want to try that because he was saying he's like you get really good bounce from them and the
Yep.
attack, that you're looking for
Yep.
when you have them mic'd up, you
Yep.
know. And I really want to try that. Haven't. I just I keep forgetting to do it, but
Yeah. That's the old trick. These guys have. They're not like the heavy mallets, but they're like
hmm.
wooden discs on them, and have
Oh, nice,
get great attack from it.
nice.
And you like not a crazy amount of tension, also, right?
Yeah, so I do a little bit more tension on my left side than my
Mm-hmm.
just because
What's your thinking behind that?
well, my left side is just not as good. So I
Mm-hmm.
need a little bit more help with the fast parts.
Gotcha.
On my left side, it's just not as strong. My right foot can go all day,
So
but my
what are you thinking of the tension is doing in that respect?
so I think it helps with the general like momentum of
Mm-hmm.
like for example like kind of what we were talking about with like the blast beat having this like cyclical motion. I know I'm getting in that zone with the kick drum when I can do really fast stuff and it just feels like it's just like I'm on a bicycle or something.
Yeah, totally.
So
It's locomotive.
yeah, exactly. And so the the tension, whether it's high or low, it's like trying to get to that spot where if it's too high, right, then it's going too fast or it's getting too much tension and it's the bounce
Mm-hmm.
back is too quick. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if the tension is too low, then it's too slow and it's not
Yeah.
stepping
Yep.
back with what I need. So I feel like I get to this point where it's like not very tight generally.
Sure.
I just it's like a little bit tighter than maybe the factory, or maybe actually it might be even looser than how it
Of
came.
course.
And then I get the left side, it's like just a little bit tighter, just so I can kind of it just like helps the like I think the right is like because it's leading, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
Yeah.
left side, it's gonna have that little lag, just because my left foot is just not as strong, or my left leg.
It's
So,
it's really interesting, dude. It's something I've
mm,
always debated on. I've always like
mm,
insisted on not doing that to myself.
mm,
But for I don't know what stupid reasons. But
mm,
like it makes sense to like adjust to the
mm.
weaker side as opposed to assume that they should be sitting at the same tension. Because I've always just
Yeah.
kept them equal and
Mm.
let the left suffer.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the morally correct way.
No,
But
absolutely not.
um but to me it was just like, yeah, I mean, what feels the most comfortable? I think that's what, when I
Yeah.
got these speed cobras actually because I just used I mean, I was switching around. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was just a slut for different, pedals for a while there. I used some pearls and I had the regular iron cobras. I had my early days of playing drums, I had DWs, but they just broke all the time on me. And so I
Mm.
just
Oh,
I
the
just
chains
thought
on those are sometimes garbage.
so the chains well, my issue with the DWs. it was like the whatever the 4,000 or the whatever one of
Hmm.
those was the on the back plate where it screws in with the pedal itself and they screw onto the
Yeah.
bottom. I was
Yeah.
having this issue and I don't know I've never had it with any other pedal. I literally had this happen to multiple DWs and I don't know
Huh.
what the deal is here. If it was my playing or what it was. Um, but it would I think I'm swiveling a tiny bit. I mean, I must be
Hmm.
because what would happen is the pedal itself would rock back and forth and it would create like a keyhole on the where the washer goes and where the screw goes to hold that in. And I would have to keep buying this piece, this just like the hinge. I kept having to do it, and it was so annoying. And like
Oh,
replacing
dude.
it was such a pain in the ass because you have to take the whole thing apart and all that. And then I was just like, well, why am I messing with it? Maybe I should try something else. And my buddy Peter, the guy, the ex-Marine guy, he had some Iron Cobras that actually had like
So faithful.
some skateboard tape on them. And he was like, dude, just try these. And I was like, holy shit, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
then I just did that for a while, and then those
They're a
broke
great
up with
goddamn
me.
pedal, man. Like
They are
they're
great. They
they're
are great.
they're meat and potato
Yeah.
done right. Yeah.
I mean, that's just yeah, it's just like get it done, like, what else do you need? But the speed cobras for me, I feel like it's just this nice level up and they're a little bit smoother. The pieces, they're nice. I think the main issue I've had with the Iron Cobras is just the arm and
Mm.
the I have had some issues with the arm and the
Oh, that's something you should actually absolutely look into the Darwin
yeah.
shit because he sells like all these like at a what the fuck do you call it, like
Hmm.
adaptation kits so you can use his really good fucking mechanism on any pedal.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Nice. Well, that's fuck. I mean, thank God for people like that because
yeah,
it's so annoying that you like, okay, now I have to buy this piece and that costs
yeah,
however much. And then it's
yeah.
like, half the time it's just the screws that I have in it, they're stripping out and then they just mess up. And I remember I brought it to this drum shop here in Denver, which I
Mm.
loves drums. I love them. But
Yeah,
I mentioned this offhandedly. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, I have this issue, with the stripping. And he's like, well, a lot of drummers they have a problem with over tightening their arm. And I'm like, have you ever been at a show where your arm flies off of your fucking
Yeah, dog.
kick pedal? Are you kidding me? That happened to me at Maryland Death Fest. Okay,
Oh,
I
dude.
was one foot in it for a whole song, so
Oh, god. At least it's the right foot.
at least it's the right foot. Yeah, exactly.
I've had my beater fly out,
I've had that happen.
the right beater, and then
I've had that
you're
happen.
like trying to left foot your way through shit, and it's just a disaster.
That sucks. Yeah, that really sucks. Yeah. And then someone would be like, "Well, you should really practice your left foot more. That'd be
Yeah,
better."
it's like, yeah, I know, dude, but like, come on. Like,
All right, you go play the show. You tell me how it goes, man. You know, but yeah, I'm like, of course I'm gonna tighten it down. So yeah, whatever. But
yeah,
like to me, it's like make it so I can tighten it as tight as it needs to be.
for real.
Well,
Like, if I trust you, then we don't have a fucking problem, do
exactly.
we?
Yeah.
um, don't have much more, man.
Yeah, man.
One thing I want to start asking people. I've been remiss in not doing this so far in my story career of two previous interviews. Is your favorite German compliment that you've received?
Oh. Does it count if it's a Polish one?
Absolutely,
Well, and it's not a compliment, obviously. Right.
of course.
That's what
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
I mean,
that's
yeah,
what we mean.
yeah.
That's what we mean. And I'm
I
sure
feel
you.
like maybe I should define my term, but I feel like people will pick it up from context.
I mean,
Yeah,
a touring musician knows. We know
yeah,
what you.
yeah, yeah.
And I love that. And in fact, in the history of me playing with other bands that have been to Europe, every single one knows exactly what this means. So, just to preface with that. But this is my favorite comment I've ever had from anybody.
All right, sick.
Really, I mean, I really do think this is the funniest thing that someone has ever said to me
Yeah,
about my own band.
yeah.
Um, and we were in Poland. The whole scenario here is just
Which band are we doing?
this is Wayfarer. Wayfarer
Okay,
is our first European tour ever.
Okay.
and we're in Łódź, Poland, with
Okay.
a if nobody knows
So
where
with
this
an
is.
L, with like the L with the line or whatever.
Yeah, it looks like loads. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
looks like loads, which is also hilarious. But it's pronounced Łódź, and I would describe Łódź as the Detroit of Poland. And
Yeah.
Poland is already the Detroit of Europe. So, you know, it, so you're just double whammy here. Uh,
Oh, sick.
and bonus, this is the worst attended show of the whole tour.
Perfect.
I believe that there was, I mean, I want to under 10 people for sure.
Sick.
Yeah. Which is hilarious already. And also, there's a classic. This is a whole other part of the story, so I'm not going to get to it. But there's a classic Euro style band
Oh
who
no, yeah.
are
Favorite local opener is another question
local,
I asked.
local, what I would describe as progressive, like if Tool and Limp Bizkit were one band,
Sweet Christ.
but also European.
Oh God. Oh, I
Um,
can taste it.
and this band brought their own lasers to a show with under 10 people. So already this is just a great time, right? This is
Oh,
a
dude.
great
Yeah.
time.
Fantastic.
And I'm at the merch table having eaten the only food I had had that day, which were pierogies.
Yeah, Poland can't be kind to
We're
you.
in Poland. As a vegan, Poland can be a little, a little rough sometimes.
Yeah.
But I had a few pierogies. I'm sitting at the merch table, and this guy comes up, and there's nobody else. The show's over. Everybody's gone. One guy comes. I don't think we sold anything that whole night.
Mm.
So I'm standing at the merch table, not even thinking I'm going to be doing merch. I'm just standing there, I think. And this guy comes up and he looks at World's Blood, which has a Native American on a horse. From this photo is from it's this guy Edward Curtis, who took it
Dude,
back
I feel like I this is
19.
starting to ring a vague
I'm
bell.
sure you've heard this story because
Yeah.
this is a classic Wayfarer story. So we're sitting behind the merch table. I'm sitting behind the merch table. The guy comes up in his, Polish accent, is like, "Excuse me, I need to ask you a question." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, no problem. Like, what do he's looking at World of Blood, which has a
Yeah.
horse. And he says, "What kind of horse is this?" And I was like, I was like, "What?" I don't know. I really don't know. He's like, "I cannot believe you put this horse on your album and you do not know what kind of horse it is." And I was like, I mean, this picture's
I,
from 1902, man. This
uh,
horse is dead. I don't fucking know. That's what kind of horse it is. It's fucking.
oh, Jesus Christ.
And
Uh,
the guy was so upset. He was like, he was like, "I cannot believe this. This is terrible. I did not know this." And left and didn't buy anything and just left.
oh, I love it, dude.
And that was it. That
That's
was that's when if someone brings this up, that's always the story that always comes to mind. It is so good.
all right. Final query. I asked TJ
Yeah.
for two, so I'll ask you for two.
Okay.
Gun to your fucking dick.
Trump or
Two
Biden?
drummers.
No. Okay. Sorry. No. Two drummers. Two drummers
Yeah.
that I have to pick.
Yeah.
Oh man. Um. Well, are we talking two worst drummers or two best? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
Uh.
that's up to you. And you don't have to share which ones you're going for. You just say names and we have to assume.
Lev Weinstein for best. Weinstein for worst. No, I'm just kidding.
Sick. Fucking cornering the market, boy.
Cornering the market. You're every drummer. Every drummer is actually Lev in this guy. Um. So I mean, I would have to put Gavin Harrison as my number one.
That's a
Fine.
great answer.
I had
Great
to.
fucking answer.
He's like, as far as what I strive to do is,
Mm-hmm.
he's like probably up there for what I, especially when it comes to like fills and cymbal work and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Dude, what's the song on In Absentia by
Yeah,
Porcupine Tree? Creator has a master tape. That
yeah,
fucking like hi hat groove is
yes,
the most wicked. There's a fill that's like
yeah, dude. Oh
it's
man,
fucking wicked.
dude, yeah. The fills on that record in particular has some of like the most tasteful, but like you're like, fuck you, man. What the hell is that? What even is that? Like, and he's like throwing
Yeah,
you
for
into
real.
just this like what, like, that, and also the Fear of a Blank Planet record also has
Mm.
just like crazy ass drum parts that are
Spend
just,
less time with that one.
yeah. And actually, there's this track. Maybe I'll send it to you, but it's
Right.
the track from Nil Recurring, which is the EP that happened after that.
Okay.
He does, which it breaks my brain just thinking about it, because he's literally doing a different time signature with like basically every hand,
hmm
every limb, sorry. And and this is one of these parts where I would like show it to my other like drum friends at the time and
Yeah.
just be like, dude, listen to this motherfucker, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that's no, I mean that would be definitely one. And I got to see him with
Right.
King Crimson, where they
Oh
had
yeah, it's like one of the seven
drums.
drummers or whatever.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the best usage of multiple drummers I've ever seen. I mean,
Sick.
usually I'm like, miss me with that,
Yeah.
most of
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I
that
don't
looked
like I
awesome.
don't even like drum solos. I'm gonna be
hmm
honest. I think
Yeah.
drum
Me
solos
neither.
are
I'm not a fan.
useless.
Yeah. I think it's the wrong instrument for that.
It's the wrong instrument for that. It doesn't make sense. You can do, and what I do like is like percussion with very minimalist stuff happening on top
hmm
of it. I like
hmm
that. That can be cool. But
Yeah. Okay.
every
So
yeah,
other
sorry.
guy.
Other guy, sorry. I'm getting carried away.
It's all good.
So that's number one. Number two, that's the hardest part because there's so many guys out there. Um it's you say gun to my head, but I'm gonna caveat you, and I'm gonna give a
All
tie.
right.
I'm gonna give a tie to two
Okay.
people.
All right. I'll allow it. I'll fucking allow it.
All right, it's gonna be, and this is for my just because of my life
hmm
and how I started playing drums, and it was because
Okay.
of Nicholas Barker.
Right on.
I started playing drums because of him.
Sick.
And I heard Puritania by
Yeah.
Warrior, and I was like, I have to learn how to play that beat. That After that, I don't care. I just have to learn how to play that, and then I started playing drums. So that's
Sick.
and also I steal a lot of shit from him. I steal like so many cymbal things from him all the time.
hmm
Um, and then my other one is Kai Hato from
Oh fuck
he
yeah.
was in Rotten Sound and then Winter
Yeah.
Sun, and he's
Yeah. I
in
mean,
so many bands that
he's got it. He's played in progressively worse bands, but he's a
he
fucking
he
amazing
has
player.
he has. I will give you that. I will give you that. But there's this video of him playing at a drum clinic in like 2005 or six or something.
hmm Yeah.
That just fucked up. It is
Yeah.
some of the most crazy shit. But his, you this is absolutely anti-Lev music. But the Winter Sun album, the first Winter Sun album, is a huge influence on me
Mm.
as a drummer. Yeah, I would have to say that. But there are so many. I don't know. There's so many drummers.
No, those are great fucking answers, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are the ones that
All in the book of approval.
in the book. In the book, you
Yeah.
gotta have the book.
Well, shit, man. Is there anything else you wanna say before we get the fuck out of here?
I want to say thank you, and you are also a very inspirational drummer to me,
Oh,
and have been
oh,
since, like I said, since I saw you guys play all those years ago. And this is the last thing I'm gonna say. And I'm gonna get you canceled now. This is what I'm gonna do. But
That's really the other point of this is to
that's the
get
other point.
canceled. Yeah.
That's the other point. So I remember reading an interview that you did around that time. So this was definitely the first Krauss album. And
Yeah,
I remember, I don't know if it was the journalist that did this or they made a very big point about
I think I remember where you're going with this.
saying that you're like, I'm Jewish and I like Burzum. Fuck you. Like,
I believe the quote was, "How the fuck else does a Jew end up listening to Burzum?"
that's what it was. Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was like in the big, like the like when they put the fucking words larger
Yeah, they
in
like
the
made it
middle
a
of the
point
thing
to
or
be
whatever.
like, that's what we're taking away. But I remember being like, hell yeah, dude, because I also
I've always gotten the thrill out of listening to music where the people who made it would be really unhappy that I was enjoying listening to
it's
it.
even, dude. I mean, you have a perfect situation there because I mean, I feel like I've met a couple other dudes like that where it's just like, yeah, like they would hate that I like this,
Yeah,
or then it would, or as we have experienced in our own personal lives with people like this, that they all of a sudden don't have a problem,
yeah,
all because you're in the room and you're like, oh,
yeah,
I'm actually Jewish, and they're like,
yeah,
oh, so. But anyways, Varga's an idiot, but he did make good music. That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah. And
And he actually played drums. So
God bless Nick Winter wherever that man may be.
yes,
If he's still 6 feet over,
he may not be alive.
he may
Uh,
not be alive.
but I
He may
really
not
hope
be
for
alive.
him that he is doing all right out there.
I highly doubt it. No, dude, this was such a fucking pleasure. Uh, it was
uh,
so awesome. I mean, it was just awesome catching up, but also I feel like this was pretty goddamn informative.
yeah, I mean, shit, man. I mean, how often do you get two drummers just talking about drum shit and
That's like, yeah,
and someone's dumb enough to record it? That's
yeah. No, I'm dumb enough. I realize that I'm dumb enough. So here we are.
no, this is great. No, I thank you so much, man. Like, I feel like
Dude,
I learned more about drumming myself just doing this.
sick,
So yeah,
awesome. Well, then
oh yeah,
everybody's fucking winning, and I really got to reconsider some things.
yeah. I mean, let's be sure to be in Canada in November, and you
Oh
know,
god,
um,
oh god,
we'll be into. I'm sure we'll be
little
in,
reunion. Yeah. Oh, dude, it would be amazing. Oh,
and and
I almost want it to happen just for the horror.
fuck yeah, yeah. That's it's gonna be a good one. Um, but let's talk more, and maybe we can do a tour in Europe sometime.
It'd be
And
amazing, dude.
honestly, any of the bands would be fucking fun. And
It'd be so much goddamn fun.
yeah, just want to hang out, man. Let's fucking do some
Yeah,
shit.
goddamn right. Yeah.
Well, I will maybe in May. Wayfarer will be up near you, so
Oh,
maybe
sick. Okay.
we'll see you. We're gonna do a U.S. tour up there. So
Right on. Awesome,
yeah,
man.
maybe we'll see you then.
I would. You absolutely will.
And maybe I can force you to play my set, so I don't have to.
uh, just like old
Just
times.
like old times. Fuck yeah, man.
All right, man. Love you.
Love you too, man. Take it easy.
Later.